Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
So what we want to do is to offer the president today the ability to move a temporary increase in the debt ceiling, in agreement to go to conference on the budget, for his willingness to sit down and discuss with us a way forward to reopen the government and to start to deal with America's pressing problems.
All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is the breaking news of the day as we welcome you to the Thursday edition of the Steve Malzberg Show. And it has the stock markets flying today. The Dow up 276 points as we speak. Make it 277. The NASDAQ now up 80, and the S&P is up 32 points. Republican leaders and Republican rank and file will be at the White House in about 90 minutes to talk with the president. He's already met or is meeting with Democratic leaders at the White House. Boehner, again, saying that the Republicans would offer a temporary increase in the debt ceiling, probably for 6 weeks, in return for discussions with President Obama on other budget and deficit issues. The government, however, apparently would remain shut down while those talks are ongoing. Now, what's the response to this? Jay Carney, speaking for the president, this will be cut 49. Here's what he had to say at the White House press briefing just about an hour ago.
The president is happy that cooler heads at least seem to be prevailing in the House, that there at least seems to be a recognition that default is not an option. Now, the president believes that it would be far better for the Congress, and in this case the House, to raise the debt ceiling for an extended period of time. We have seen nothing, obviously no proposal from House Republicans yet. There's no bill to look at. If a clean debt limit bill is passed, he would likely sign it. Again, we would have to see it. We're speaking of a bill that does not at this point exist, and it's not at all clear based on what the Speaker said that that's what we're going to see.
All right, so they're waiting basically to see something in writing. There's nothing in writing, but Carney would not rule out, as you heard, the prospect that Obama would sign a short-term extension of the debt ceiling, even though he would like a clean CR to go along with it. He did not say that he would not do one without the other, which is something the president has said in the past, that give me a clean CR, raise the debt ceiling with no conditions, and then we'll talk. So this is giving on the part of the Republicans that they are willing to raise the debt ceiling, albeit for 6 weeks, without getting anything, keeping the government closed, which would be the concession the president would make in talking during that 6-week period, immediately after the signing of the extension. But with the government remaining closed, that's something the president had originally said he would not do. So give and take, without calling it negotiations. If this is put forth as indicated by the Speaker, if this is signed as indicated, passed by the Senate and signed by the president as indicated, then we had, in effect, bargaining. Give and take. Not my way or the highway, as the president has been saying from the get-go. So we'll see how this works out. We will see how, only time will tell how this is going to work out. Now, that aside, and we'll certainly keep you up to date. We're going to be speaking at the bottom of the hour with Congressman Tim Yuleskamp from the great state of Kansas. We'll get his take on all of this. But I do want to fill you in on something here. Yesterday we told you that the mayor of Washington, D.C., a Democrat, and Eleanor Holmes Norton, the congressional representative, non-voting representative of D.C., both blasted Harry Reid. The mayor of D.C. did it to Harry Reid's face because one of the and even if this compromise takes place, Washington, D.C. is going to be in the same situation they're in right now. So will the kids with cancer who need the experimental treatments. Okay? The House has passed several piecemeal, if you will, bills. One of them was to keep Washington, D.C. funded, to allow them to use their own tax revenues to fund their own localized government. Okay? That has not been taken up by the Senate. So the mayor of D.C. held a press conference and then crashed Harry Reid's press conference yesterday and said, you know, we're not part of your federal government. Let us use our own money to keep ourselves running. And Harry Reid says, I'm on your side. Don't screw it up. Don't screw it up. Okay. Eleanor Holmes Norton, of course, obviously a Democrat for a long, long time, in a fixture in the House of Representatives as a delegate. She also blasted Harry Reid at the press conference that the mayor and she were holding, calling again for the federal government to let D.C. operate. Because D.C. is going to have to close down. Why? Because Harry Reid in the Senate, and that's why the anger from the Democratic mayor of D.C. and the Democratic representative in the House from D.C., the anger is aimed at Harry Reid. The House passed this bill, which would continue to allow Washington, D.C. to use their own money to operate, to continue. They're facing their own shutdown. They're going to have to send their employees home, including police and everybody else, so they say, unless Harry Reid takes this up in the Senate, passes what the House passed, and the president signs it. And while they're at it, they should do it with the National Institute of Health, so kids with cancer who need experimental treatment could get it. They should do it for veterans who need their benefits so they could get it. They should do it for the parks and recreation around the country so they could reopen. All those have been passed by the House. Harry Reid hasn't touched them. So this is going to be very, very interesting. Democratic leaders who run the district. This is a story from, I don't even know whose story this is, AP. Democratic leaders who run the District of Columbia are rapidly losing patience with their Democratic colleagues in Congress and the White House, lashing out at them over the partial government shutdown and questioning their overall strategy. The district already dealing with lost tourism revenue as some would-be visitors change vacation plans, knowing that the White House has closed some of D.C.'s top attractions. But unlike other cities, Washington, D.C. is not allowed to spend locally raised funds during the partial shutdown due to its unique status as a federal district. And city leaders have campaigned to have that restriction lifted, but so far, only the Republican-led House has voted to allow it. And the Democrats, the Democratic mayor, Eleanor Holmes Norton, not happy with their fellow Democrats in the Senate or the one in the White House. But shh, let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about that. Okay, when we come back, I witnessed a debate yesterday that was amazing. I watched Cory Booker, the creation of the media, the second coming of Barack Obama, a man with nothing, a man who's running a city in New Jersey as mayor, Newark, that has 2 times the national average unemployment rate, education 55% high school dropout rate, murders every day. Just recently they had one every day for 10 days in a row. He makes up stories about saving people and people dying in his arms and this guy named T-Bone that doesn't exist. And Steve Lonegan, this election is next week. Steve Lonegan wiped the floor with him in their second and final debate yesterday. I'm going to let you hear some of that when we come back right here on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Attention seniors and baby boomers. A new website has been created just for you. SocialSecurity311.com. At SocialSecurity311.com, we reveal a weird trick that could help you add $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. For example, did you know how you file for Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect? One simple step could add up to $1,000 to your monthly payouts. And other loopholes we found reveal 33 ways for big savings on your health care. At SocialSecurity311.com, you will also discover how you could save up to 50% on your groceries, along with 49 other ways to save as much as $50,000 starting today. Newsmax says this website is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. So go to SocialSecurity311.com now to find out how you could add extra money to your Social Security checks. That's SocialSecurity311.com. SocialSecurity311.com.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
What is Lignet? Lignet is knowledge. Lignet is power. Lignet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is Lignet? Lignet is confidential. Lignet is sensitive. Lignet is security. What is Lignet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on Lignet.com. You've been briefed.
I used to sleep like a baby. Now I have to get up in the middle of the night just to go to the bathroom. And not just once.
Men, if you suffer from frequent urination, the inability to empty your bladder, a hesitant urine stream, or leaking due to an aging prostate, listen to this. Renowned physician Dr. David Brownstein believes this does not need to be an inevitable part of aging. After extensive research, Dr. Brownstein has recently developed Prostate Revive, the dietary supplement specifically formulated to help improve and sustain normal prostate function. And now you can receive a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. For complete details, visit prostaterevive.com/offer. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. Learn how you can try Prostate Revive for 30 days at prostaterevive.com/offer. Hurry, limited time offer. That's prostaterevive.com/offer.
Hi, this is Dick Morris. Obamacare is taking full effect this year with over 15,000 pages of regulations. You need to know how this law affects you. That's why you should get your copy of Obamacare's Survival Guide. It's easy to read and the best guide to the new law. Even if you're currently insured or a senior on Medicare or a business owner, a medical professional, or really any citizen, you need the Obamacare Survival Guide. In it, you'll find about hidden taxes, fees, and fines, including a 40% tax on some health plans. I warned you about Obamacare. It's rationing, Medicare cuts, and will trigger doctor shortages. Now the Obamacare Survival Guide gives you the simple steps to protect your family.
Get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. It's already an Amazon bestseller. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 today. Go to Obamacare311.com. Obamacare311.com. That's Obamacare311.com.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
I don't know if my opponent is running against me or running against Barack Obama.
Both.
But the reality...
Because you're one and the same.
The reality is the reason why those benefits aren't there for these folks coming home, don't you understand? It's because a fringe group of Tea Party people shut down our government. And this is not the president's fault. It's people on, not even Republicans' fault. It's the Tea Party people like Ted Cruz who you say are heroes to America. So please understand, if you want more shutdown politics, as the Asbury Park says, if you send Steve Lonegan down to Washington, it's like pouring gasoline on a fire. If you want more of what's making Washington go wrong, Steve Lonegan's your guy. If you want to end shutdown politics, end the extremism, and do the things that our government should do, supporting veterans coming home, children here in New Jersey now suffering with the risk of losing their Head Start dollars. All
right, so there's Cory Booker. Really, he's a walking commercial. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Cory Booker, mayor of Newark. Steve Lonegan, former mayor of Bogota, New Jersey. They're running against each other. The special election to fill the seat vacated by the death of Frank Lautenberg is next week. Steve Lonegan has closed the poll gap from over 30 points down to 12. I don't know what the polls will show after last night's debate. But all Cory Booker says is, end poverty, better schools, blah, blah, blah. But he's a mayor of a city that is a disaster, a total disaster. And he's in Hollywood, raising money there, partying with the Hollywood elite, and just, Tea Party, Tea Party, Tea Party. Lonegan, I just want you to hear the difference. Now, here's Lonegan's response to what you just heard from Cory Booker, cut 26.
This is a problem we have. We send people to Washington to work together, to do the residents' work. Together. And as opposed to somebody who's going down there and supporting a shutdown and will look to extend it.
Work together unless you want to attack anybody in the world who says they have anything. Speak out, speak their mind, stand up for American liberty. Anybody who says they're part of something called the Tea Party. Anybody that doesn't agree with you, you will work against. This is the same president who shut down the World War II memorial to those great World War II veterans who defended this country, but opened up the mall to an illegal immigration rally.
But are members of your party in any way responsible for this impasse, which has led to this situation?
Members of my party, the Republican Party, have introduced a series of bills to provide funding for all of these issues. Harry Reid and Barack Obama have refused to negotiate because they want to jam Obamacare down our throats at any expense. And my opponent in this race, Mr. Booker, he's only the Hollywood stand-in for Barack Obama in this ballot. This election in New Jersey is a referendum on Obamacare, the NSA, the IRS abuse of power, the intrusion into our children's education. It's the destruction of our liberty. That's what's on the ballot. My opponent, just the Hollywood stand-in for Barack Obama.
May I say one thing in response?
Go ahead. That was a long list, so we're going to give you a few minutes.
Of course you are.
Listen to my opponent's rhetoric. Listen to my opponent's rhetoric and listen to his positions. It seems like he's doing more to try to run and replace Rush Limbaugh than Frank Lautenberg.
Ooh, Tea Party, Rush Limbaugh, good ideas, Mayor Booker. Very good, solid ideas for New Jersey and America. Rush Limbaugh, Tea Party, pouring gasoline on the fire, just great catchphrases. Now, the problem that Cory Booker has had about making things up, and in this particular case, this was brought up by the moderator, not by Steve Lonegan, a story that Cory Booker tells where some guy who was shot in Newark died in his arms. Cut 27.
There have been reports, that one story that made headlines about a murder victim who supposedly died in your arms in Newark one night. There are reports that there's a police report that says you were on the scene assisting, but that the victim actually died in the arms of a woman who was on the front steps. So what really happened that night?
Thank you very much for asking the question. This is unfortunately another attack by my Tea Party friend and his campaign, saying that me arriving on the scene right after a person was shot, trying to address his injuries, trying to stop him from bleeding to death, and actually, unfortunately, he fell into cardiac arrest, as the police report says, which means his heart stopped.
He died at the hospital.
Well, he was officially declared dead at the hospital, but the police report says that he had cardiac arrest at the time, which means his heart stopped.
Okay, here's Lonegan's response to that. And to another story about a made-up guy named T-Bone that Cory Booker says he used to hang around with. Here's 28.
I've never brought up this young man, Wazen Miller, in my campaign. It was exposed by a major news publication not related to me.
This is the gentleman who died.
The 19-year-old young man who apparently stumbled into the mayor's arms, which did not happen, did not stumble into his arms, did not die in his arms. And I find it deeply disturbing when an elected official uses the death of someone like that to parade around the country and build himself up. It's opportunism on a major scale, but it really shows a lack of judgment in many, many ways.
All right, now to abortion. Listen to this exchange, 29.
Mayor, we don't need the government to create jobs. We need our freedom. Give us our freedom, and the people of this country will create all the jobs we need.
Hey, I would love it if you would give freedom to women. I would love it. I would love it if you would give freedom to women to make their own health care decisions. Instead of saying I want to close Planned Parenthood and I want to make abortion illegal, even in the cases of rape and incest. You see, you can't have it both ways. If you want liberty, give it to gay Americans to be able to have the same treatment under the law. If you want liberty, give it to women to make their own health care decisions.
I need to respond. He's attacked me.
We're going to give you time for your
twice.
closing statements.
No, that's not. He's attacked me on this abortion issue because I'm pro-life. But this man supports taxpayer-funded abortions up to the day of delivery. I want to know one thing. What abortion would you ban? Under what circumstances would you ban abortion?
Right. What abortion would you ban, Mr. Booker, Cory Booker? Here's 30.
Tell the people what abortions you would ban.
So I will tell the American people and the people of the state of New Jersey exactly what I will stand for. I believe in Roe versus Wade. It was decided by our Supreme Court. And I will stand by defending it from people like him that want to repeal Roe v. Wade. If a woman is a victim of rape or incest, he thinks that abortion should be illegal. And what I'm saying to you is if you believe in liberty, then give liberty back to women and let them make their own health care decisions.
As a follow-up
and
to that,
fund things like Planned Parenthood that help us detect problems before they become a real reality.
I'd say the follow-up to that is the mayor is scared to death of NARAL and the far-left pro-abortion lobby because he will not answer the question. He supports abortions funded by taxpayers or whatever up to the day of delivery for any reason whatsoever. He took safe, legal, and rare out of the Democrat platform. You can see it on Cokie Roberts' show right on my website at
Cokie Roberts' show, sir.
You can see it.
I'm here right now, and I will tell you.
Will ban.
I will tell you right now.
Right, now here's how it ended up.
I believe a woman's health care decisions should be between her and her doctor, and we should defend Roe versus Wade against people that want to get rid of Roe versus Wade and make criminal abortions, even in the case of rape and incest. That's where I stand. I'm telling you right now, you don't need to go to Cokie Roberts. You heard it right here, right now.
Imagine aborting a baby in the 8th month of pregnancy. He supports that.
That's not true. That is not true, and that's unfortunate. That you were trying to actually distract people.
That's not true. So you support partial birth abortion ban?
Sir, again, our views on this are very distinct and very clear.
No, mine is clear.
Exactly. You want to make abortion illegal in the cases of rape and incest. I want to protect Roe v. Wade.
I'm pro-life. I love the sanctity of life. I think it's the most beautiful thing God gives us. You'll abort a baby in its 8th month of delivery.
All right, gentlemen, we are out of time.
Okay. All right, that was great, and we're coming back.
The Steve Malzberg Show. Are you worried about not having enough money to retire? Finally, there's a retirement solution designed to address the damage that the government spending policies and the Federal Reserve have inflicted on the value of the dollar. Introducing the Heritage Advantage IRA, the new gold and silver-backed retirement account from Heritage Gold Group. Don't let the declining value of the dollar put your retirement in jeopardy. The Heritage Advantage IRA puts retirement savers back in control with physical gold and silver combined with the tax advantages of an IRA. Call 855-GOLD-IRA to request your free, no-obligation Heritage Advantage IRA kit. Inside, you'll find information about how to buy physical gold and silver with your existing IRA or 401k. No additional investment required. Call 855-GOLD-IRA for your free Advantage IRA kit. Don't wait. Plans for new regulations may eliminate rules allowing you to buy gold and silver with your existing IRA or 401k. Call 855-GOLD-IRA. That's 855-465-3472.
When you were younger, you probably never considered your heart health. But cardiologist Dr. Chauncey Crandall knows from experience that taking steps to care for your heart becomes more crucial as the decades pass, if you want to keep this vital organ ticking smoothly for years to come. That's why Dr. Crandall recently developed Cardio Advanced, a nutritional supplement containing 12 special ingredients, all selected to help improve and maintain your heart health and normal cholesterol levels. The flagship of this exclusive formula, esterified plant sterols, may help lower your risk of heart disease when taken as part of a diet low in cholesterol and fat. And great news, now you have the opportunity to try a 30-day supply of Cardio Advanced. Simply cover a $4.95 shipping and handling charge. Plus, if you act right now, you'll also receive a free doctor's guide to a healthy heart as a special bonus. Please visit cardioadvanced.com/radio for complete details on claiming your 30-day bottle of Cardio Advanced and free report. That's cardioadvanced.com/radio. Life is too precious to ignore your heart health. Visit cardioadvanced.com/radio now while supplies last.
Have you hit a brick wall with your weight loss? Does your weight management plan need an extra edge for success? If so, listen up. Metabio is the revolutionary weight loss breakthrough designed to help you reach your goal weight as part of your diet and exercise program. Metabio is the premium nutritional supplement power-packed with 5 high-quality ingredients. When used as part of a healthy lifestyle, each component is formulated to help you reach your goals and maintain your optimal weight and wellness. It supports healthy metabolism and promotes fat loss. Now, learn how you can try a 30-day supply of Metabio. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit themetabio.com/special. Act now and also receive instant access to our downloadable special report, a practical guide to healthy weight management. Try it now at themetabio.com/special. That's the metabio.com/special. While supplies last. themetabio.com/special.
Attention hip implant patients. Are you in constant pain? Have you received a letter from your doctor about your implant? Have you had or need a revision surgery? Do you have high levels of metal, chromium, or cobalt in your blood? Over 90,000 hip implant devices have been recalled due to defects and failures resulting in revision or replacement surgery. If you have a recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920 to see if your implant is affected by the recalls. If you or a loved one has a defective or recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920. That's 800-460-0920. Protect your legal rights today. Call 800-460-0920. This is an advertisement, not valid in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. iLawsuit.com is an advertising group that represents lawyers advertising their services and is a free matching service for consumers. It is not a law firm or lawyer referral service.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
That's why we're going to offer legislation that will offer a temporary increase in the debt ceiling to allow us some time to continue this conversation, because it is time for solutions. The Democrats' unwillingness to have this conversation has actually resulted in a delay and an ongoing government shutdown, and it's hurting the American people. It's gone on too long. We hope that the president will choose negotiation over crisis, leadership over inaction, and dialogue over silence. It's time to solve our problems.
To the Steve Malzberg Show, folks, and that was Kathy Rogers, of course. Earlier today at the Republican press conference that was held, Kathy McMorris Rogers, of course, part of the leadership of the Republican Party, where it was announced that the Republicans in the House would be willing to extend the debt ceiling for 6 weeks, keep the government closed down, and during that 6 weeks period, the president and both sides would talk about everything related to the budget. Joining us now is Kansas Congressman Tim Yuleskamp. Hello, Congressman. How are you?
Doing well, Steve.
Before we get to this, being that you serve on the Veterans Affairs Committee in the House, I just want to ask you, we just got word that the Senate passed what you guys passed yesterday in the House, which was a bill to specifically fund the military death benefits that the Pentagon was denying the families of those who made the ultimate sacrifice. Just want to make it clear, Congressman Gohmert had told me last Friday when this news first broke, you all were under the impression that when you funded the military pay at the very beginning, which was signed by the president, that this was included, correct?
Absolutely, and we were under the impression, and have been for decades, that you wouldn't shut down national monuments and memorials in the middle of a shutdown. But I think it's outrageous, the things that this administration's been attempting to do. But to pass a bill to make sure our veterans get paid, we did that right away in the House. We've done a dozen different bills to deal with these very specific issues created by the administration. Yeah, okay, and so all that's left now is for the president to sign it. Now, are you going, sir, to meet with the president? I'm a little confused about who has been invited, if it's the entire caucus or the leadership, and then I heard it was the caucus and the leadership wasn't coming because it wasn't a negotiating session, just talking to by the president. What is going on? That is a great question. We received no invite. I don't know who actually did. The president claims he invited folks through our leadership, but apparently our leadership said that the rest of us were disinvited, so I don't know. But at the end of the day, you don't have to sit down in a room. Just put something down on paper, Mr. President. Tell us what your offer is, what you'd like to see, instead of just saying you're not going to negotiate. But frankly, what I'm hearing out of leadership, that we're going to add another couple $100 billion in debt or whatever it is in exchange for time. I mean, we don't have time. I think it's now's the time to solve our problems. We're against a wall. The debt ceiling is not going to be crossed next week. I mean, that's absolutely a made-up figure by the administration. We cannot default. Joe Biden said as much, but no, as of now, I don't think we ought to wait 6 weeks. Let's solve it now. We are already running a $700 billion deficit, and we're already into a new year and losing money every day. It's time for action.
All right, so you are then against the proposal, at least there is nothing in writing yet, as Jay Carney keeps saying, but you're against the verbal proposal expressed by John Boehner, which, again, would raise the debt ceiling for 6 weeks and then in the interim keep the government closed and use that, I guess, as the leverage to talk to the president, keep him at his word, or he'll promise to talk and work everything out in that 6 weeks period. You would vote no on that?
As it stands now, but again, we have no language, hadn't been provided a Republican conference. The proposal was brand new this morning. I actually did not make the Republican conference. I had veterans at the World War II Memorial, wanted to make sure they got in on a long trip from Kansas, wanted to make sure they got to see their memorial. But as it stands now, no, it's time for action, not time for more time. And we can get this thing done in a couple days if everybody would come to the table. But again, that's what our leadership is trying to determine. What would it take to get the president to the table? But this idea that, gosh, let's just borrow another, I don't know, a couple $100 billion and somehow that'll be a good thing, I don't think so.
Do you have any ideas or what you would suggest? I know you say solve it now, but you say leadership is trying to get the president to the table. An unprecedented situation where, even though he says this is unprecedented, the truth is every president has come to the table. Do you have anything you would like to see John Boehner say to the president to get him to the table other than what he is apparently offering?
Well, I think we ought to still continue to pass bills to keep the government open, and we passed more than a dozen of those. And Harry Reid, I was double-checking for certain, but as of 2 days ago, they hadn't had a vote since that shutdown started. I mean, it's as if the whole Senate's on furlough and that the president is not engaging. I don't know how you, again, give him 6 more weeks of borrowing money is somehow going to force the president to negotiate, as most Americans would demand. So, yeah, we'll keep doing this. And again, the president said, hey, kids aren't getting their cancer treatment. House took care of that. The World War II Memorial, House took care of that.
Veterans.
FAA, veterans took care of that. Death benefits for our soldiers, we took care of that. And the president still says, no, I will not negotiate one single thing. His final offer was this: give me everything I want, we'll sign it all into law, and then I'll negotiate sometime in the future, which is silly if it wasn't so serious.
Right, and we're talking, by the way, to Kansas Republican Tim Yuleskamp here on the Steve Malzberg Show. No, not only are all those bills sitting in Harry Reid's Senate, and the first vote, you were right, but until today when they did pass the military death funding, they had not voted on anything. But the president has said that he would veto it anyway, which is just bizarre on its face, to be honest with you. So let me ask you about the veterans. Is the World War II Memorial open right now?
It's open if you're there to, quote, practice your Second Amendment activities. There's a sign up there. Your First Amendment activities. So I guess if you're the Constitution is not there to protect us to use our federal lands. We shouldn't have amendment to the Constitution. No, it's only open through one narrow gate. If you can slip in there by 4 guards who are standing there eyeing everybody coming in and apparently are demanding to see whether you're there under the First Amendment or something else. And so it's barely open. That's absolutely outrageous.
You mean they're asking, for instance, I don't know if any of your constituents arrived in a wheelchair, but if someone who arrived in a wheelchair or otherwise, at World War II veterans, they're asked what exactly?
I don't know what they were asked. I came in at the end of the line, but there is a sign up there that says, the message is, you don't belong here, quote, unless you're here under the First Amendment, which is kind of a bizarre statement. This is an open-air memorial. You can get in on all sides except for the barricades they put up. And so, yeah, we did get in. Nobody got turned away, but it shouldn't take a member of Congress to be standing there to get by 4 security guards that I think were probably on overtime duty in order to protect the monument from these veterans who built the darn thing. And so that's the politics of pain that's going on with the families of deceased soldiers. We can go through a long list. We had the case over the weekend where numerous Catholic priests were denied access to a chapel because, quote, it's a shutdown. I guess the First Amendment does not extend to freedom of religion, and that's coming out as well. So, I don't think it's time now to say, Mr. President, you get whatever you want. Now's the time. Let's debate the future of Obamacare. Let's debate the fact we had a $700 billion deficit last year, and doing the same thing in a, quote, clean CR is another $700 billion in debt. That's unacceptable.
All right. And Congressman, just one final question. I don't know how many people you've talked to, your fellow House members on your side of the aisle. What's the feeling on what John Boehner and the leadership, quote-unquote, proposed today?
Really mixed reaction, but again, it's always trust but verify. Show us the language. What exactly does it mean when you're going to raise the debt ceiling for 6 weeks? How much can the president borrow? It's my understanding there's no number in there. There's kind of a date. That could be hundreds of billions of dollars of new debt. For what reason? For time. For the president to decide maybe in 6 weeks he's not going to negotiate. I don't know how that changes much of anything other than just adds more debt for our children and grandchildren.
And I lied. One more question, because you led me to this. If, in fact, it becomes apparent that the majority of Republicans would not be happy with this, would you expect Congressman Boehner to bring it anyway, or violate the Hastert rule, or stick to what he has been saying all along, that he would not do something like that?
I fear he would bring it to the floor anyway, given what I heard, the comments that he made in conference this morning. Again, I wasn't there because I was with
right.
my veterans, but at the end of the day, this is about the future of our country. It's not about World War II memorials and death benefits. That's the pain for the presidency. It's about what are we going to do? We're off track in this country. Obamacare is a massive increaser in debt of $800 billion over the next decade. And what we're going to do about it is the real question. And we're on track for bankruptcy if we're not careful. And it's not going to be default in a few weeks. But 2 or 3 years from now, we will regret if we do not get our spending under control.
Congressman, thank you very much. I hope you'll come back, sir.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Congressman Tim Yuleskamp from Kansas. Very interesting here on the Steve Malzberg Show. We're going to come back. Susan Ferrecchio, Chief Congressional Correspondent, Washington Examiner, is out waiting in the wings, and she'll give us her latest take on where we are and who's going to the White House, because Congressman Yuleskamp wasn't invited, and he doesn't know why, when we return on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, and you may be forced to watch helplessly as you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, all while your home's value is eradicated. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer believes we will soon stare down a secret crisis that will rival the Great Depression. It was Wiedemer's 2005 book, America's Bubble Economy, that warned of coming meltdowns in our housing and stock markets. Washington did not heed his call, and folks on Main Street lost $50 trillion from the recession. His New York Times best-selling book, Aftershock, predicted our federal debt and dollar would be the next bubbles to burst. And now, Robert Wiedemer has released a startling video with shocking evidence the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Join us at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented, and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy.
Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare311.com. Obamacare311.com. That's Obamacare311.com.
Do you have a motorized wheelchair or scooter that needs repairs and you don't know where to turn? Then call the experts at Precision Repair Network. They are the specialists in repairing all makes and models of motorized wheelchairs and scooters. You can call 24/7 and they will come to you anywhere in the United States. They'll give you a loaner to use until they return yours in perfect condition. And your repairs may be covered by your Medicare or your private insurance, so there is little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. If your wheelchair or scooter needs repairs, call this special hotline now and learn how you can get door-to-door service on your repairs at little or no cost to you. Precision Repair Network. They'll get you moving again. Operators are ready to take your call right now. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. That's 800-978-4813.
Constipation, gas, bloating, most people suffer through. But now there's a simple solution for occasional digestive problems called Back2Pro. Developed by holistic medical doctor David Brownstein, Back2Pro is the fiber probiotic formula that supports healthy digestive and immune health. And it comes in the form of an easy-to-eat, tasty wafer. Back2Pro contains 6 powerful strains of beneficial probiotic bacteria, dietary fiber, and bacteria-nourishing prebiotics, plus powerful antioxidants. Now you can receive a 30-day supply of Back2Pro. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit Back2Pro.com/special. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Probiotics and Your Health. Improve your digestive health now. Learn how you can receive your 30-day supply at Back2Pro.com/special. That's BACTIPRO.com/special. Back2Pro.com/special.
Do you have a motorized wheelchair or scooter that needs repairs and you don't know where to turn? Then call the experts at Precision Repair Network. They are the specialists in repairing all makes and models of motorized wheelchairs and scooters. You can call 24/7 and they will come to you anywhere in the United States. They'll give you a loaner to use until they return yours in perfect condition. And your repairs may be covered by your Medicare or your private insurance, so there is little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. If your wheelchair or scooter needs repairs, call this special hotline now and learn how you can get door-to-door service on your repairs at little or no cost to you. Precision Repair Network. They'll get you moving again. Operators are ready to take your call right now. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. That's 800-978-4813.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at Newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. While we were away, Harry Reid took to the microphone outside the White House. He left his meeting with the other Democratic senators. We have Susan Ferrecchio, chief congressional correspondent for the Washington Examiner, on the line. And Susan, here's in a nutshell, Harry Reid said, we have to see what the Republicans are going to send over. We don't know what they don't know what they want. We haven't seen anything in writing. There's a question as to how much they'll raise the debt ceiling for 6 weeks, or if it's even 6 weeks. We have to see. But then the last question was, all along, Senator, you've maintained that you will not negotiate anything unless the government is reopened and the debt ceiling is allowed to rise without any preconditions. Would you agree to raise the debt ceiling, but keep the government shut? And he said, not going to happen, and walked away. So I don't even know what he's talking about. But if he's true with not going to happen, then we're right back to square one.
Yeah, that's the best point of all in all this, Steve, is the monkey wrench that is the government shutdown. I mean, they can all say, okay, this debt ceiling thing really hurts the financial markets. It's far more threatening in many ways than a government shutdown, which is really only a partial shutdown. So let's take care of that, and then we'll negotiate all the other things, like a long-term deal on debt raising and a borrowing limit, and also what to do about the government shutdown. Well, not so fast, say the Democrats, who have been wanting to find a way to reopen the government and blame it on Republicans, and they've been wanting to do that all along. So what good would it do them to agree to this deal at this point if the government shutdown is not part of the bargain? So in other words, it may be hard to get. Here's what I think is going to happen. I do think the House can pass the plan you just described. Short-term increase in the borrowing limit, that's clean. I think it can pass if the president agrees to talk about major spending reform. Second issue is what will happen after it leaves the House? We'll go to the Senate. Well, there are some Republicans. The crack in the door there are some Republicans who want to attach to this House bill, a bill, something to reopen the government. There's enough Republicans who may go along with that you could pass a bill in the Senate that changes the House bill to reopen the government. If that happens, of course, things get complicated because then the House bill and the Senate bill don't agree. They have to be the same bill to become law. And so now we've got a little bit of a complicating factor. What will the House do? I think what could happen at that point is, at least, in my imagination, the Speaker could put that bill on the floor. And if the deal is good enough on debt ceiling in terms of major spending reform, and maybe they get a little piece of the health care law changed, like medical device tax, or making sure that the government workers in the Congress and congressmen are not getting special subsidies, he may put that on the floor.
But let me stop you. Where would those concessions come from? The Senate? I mean, the Senate would send that bill back, or would it come in conference, or where would those concessions be made?
Right. The Senate could amend the House bill.
Right.
To open the government.
Right, and include those concessions in it.
Yes, they would have to include something in it, because otherwise, what's the point of passing that when they know?
Right.
It would put too much. What would Boehner do? Then he'd be back in the same position with the government, and it would be up to Boehner to decide what's he going to do. Now, don't forget, this thing changes. The members are. This shutdown is now in its second week. The members don't feel the same way they did on the night that the thing started, the shutdown started, when they were all gung-ho. Now the polls are blaming them more and more. Now the market is fading over fear of debt ceiling and also government shutdown has duration. So these things have an impact on whether members are really going to get upset with the Speaker. But he still has to worry about that far-right flank. So he needs to put something in it for them, and he would need to talk them into it. But that's the deal I envision. You're not going to get. Eric Cantor just told me today that he's going to talk to the president about delaying the individual mandate. That would be probably the biggest thing they could get, and it would be hard to imagine that kind of concession, except for the fact that the health care law implementation has.
It's a disaster, right?
It's a disaster, right? Maybe the president says, great idea. That I can blame them. And then give us time to see what the problem is here. Maybe does that, but there's huge pitfalls for delaying it, because you delay it, it puts the whole thing in jeopardy too. So I think that those are the possibilities that are floating out there right now. And again, the president could sit down with the Republicans and be less, negotiable, less malleable than they hope. He could say, I'm not going to really agree to alter Medicare here. I'm not going to really agree to make the kind of changes that will cut important programs. He may say that, and then Republicans may walk out and say, hey, we brought him a deal, and now he's keeping the government shut.
Right. Well, and we're talking to Susan Ferrecchio, Chief Congressional Correspondent, Washington Examiner, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Yeah, but when I heard, Reid just walk away and not say, it would have been smarter. Not only in the spirit of bipartisanship, not that that exists, but in the spirit of not trying to, wreck the market rally that we saw today, and we are seeing it's still up 294, the Dow. But to say not going to happen, in other words, he basically said unless we get a clean CR, unless they agree without condition to raise the debt ceiling, there's nothing going to happen. I don't think he meant that, but that's what he said. But let me ask you a question. Who's going to the White House? I just had Congressman Tim Yuleskamp from Kansas, who, by the way, is not happy about offering an extension of the debt ceiling. He wants everything done now. But having said that, I said, are you going? He said, no, I'm not going. I said, well, I heard reports that the whole caucus was going and then that the leadership wasn't going because it wasn't going to be a negotiation. It was going to be a talking to by the president. Then I heard the leadership was going. He said, well, it's a good question, Steve. I don't know who's going, but I wasn't called to go. So who's going?
Well, the entire conference was invited. That's 232 members.
Well, nobody invited Tim Muehlskamp, so...
No. The leadership reduced the list. They culled it down and get rid of everybody except the elected leadership and some of the chairmen.
Oh, okay.
About 19 people total. They really didn't... They wanted people in the room who were going to be able to negotiate, and they felt like, they wanted to leave out Muehlskamp and company because that's not the deal they're going to have. They want to reopen. That's a different faction. And while Boehner is going along with them right now with this government shutdown, Boehner is not going to let the debt ceiling come and go. I think he's far more nervous about that. I mean, like you say, the markets are rallying today, but they hadn't been. And again, back to what you're saying about Reid and the short-term deal. There's another reason Reid hates this whole thing. He introduced his own debt ceiling deal that went to December 2014. Well, guess why? He doesn't want this interfering with the 2014 election.
Right.
That's his majority. That's his post as majority leader right there. They could lose the majority. It's a tough election coming up for them. If they're fighting debt ceiling in the middle of all that, what a disaster. So he wants this thing pushed off till December after the November election, and then we'll deal with it. That's his view. So if the president is proposing, okay, let's do a short term, this thing's going to start edging into the campaign season. And there's nothing good in that for Harry Reid. So not only there's nothing good in that. So it's very simple for him just to show minimal enthusiasm for this deal, and then when you throw in the shutdown on top of it, he walks away. So
yeah, and not to mention the confrontation with the mayor of Washington D.C. yesterday.
Right. Now that was interesting because the mayor they were having his own press conference about wanting the Senate to take up the House.
Right.
Yeah, which passed unanimously, by the way, without one Democrat standing up to object. The Senate won't touch it because they don't want to put their members on the spot about reopening parts of the government. So you've got all kinds of cogs in this thing. Not everybody's in agreement.
We will see where this all leads, Susan. As always, appreciate your time and your insight. This is certainly your busy season, as they call it, and I thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Steve.
Take care. Susan Ferrecchio, ladies and gentlemen, Chief Congressional Correspondent, Washington Examiner. When we come back, the grandson of Billy Graham will be here. He has some very interesting things to say about the church on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Obamacare, President Obama's massive healthcare law, is taking effect this year. With over 15,000 pages of regulations, few even know what it means. Now, the Obamacare Survival Guide by Nick Tate gives you the shocking facts about this law. It's a step-by-step guide on how you can protect yourself. Already a New York Times bestseller, every American needs to get the Obamacare Survival Guide and find out about the new taxes, hidden fees, fines, Medicare changes, business rules, and why doctor shortages are likely. Donald Trump says the Obamacare Survival Guide is a must-read for anyone worried about getting good health care for themselves or their employees. So get the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's at bookstores, or get our special offer at Obamacare311.com and you'll save $15. Go now to Obamacare311.com. That's Obamacare311.com.
Do you suffer from joint discomfort? Contrary to what the experts may say, achy joints do not have to be a normal part of aging. Holistic doctor David Brownstein challenged conventional thinking to focus on natural solutions for joint health. As a result, Dr. Brownstein has recently developed Limbex, the premium nutritional supplement specifically formulated to support healthy joints and connective tissue. It's a new joint breakthrough formula containing 11 hand-picked nutrients. Learn more at limbexjoint.com/special Special and take the 30-day Healthy Joint Challenge. That's a 30-day supply of the Limbex Joint Supplement. All you pay is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Happy, Healthy Joints at Any Age. You can do something about joint discomfort and flexibility. Learn how you can try it for 30 days at limbexjoint.com/special. That's LIMBEX joint.com/special. limbexjoint.com/special.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. It's day 10 of that partial government shutdown, and we are just 1 week away from the date when the Treasury Department says the country will run out of the money to pay its bills. But lawmakers are meeting today with the president as both sides may finally be ready to cut a deal to end the government shutdown and raise the nation's borrowing limit. That deal would buy time to negotiate a larger deficit reduction bill. Sound familiar? We've heard this before. Now, a delegation of GOP House members will then head over to the White House to talk with President Obama about all of this today. Meanwhile, President Obama has indicated that he would welcome a temporary solution for the debt ceiling problem, but he says negotiations for a longer deal can happen only after Congress agrees to fund the government. Meanwhile, lawmakers are searching for common ground. Treasury Secretary Jack Lew warned a Senate panel today that the economy faces irrevocable damage if the borrowing limit is not raised.
I must say there's a parlor sport in Washington of when is the last minute. You can't do that with the debt limit. With the debt limit, if you look for the last minute and you make a mistake, you've done serious damage to the U.S. economy, to the world economy.
There are still some conservatives who say they want changes to Obamacare before they agree to reopen the government. House Republicans have been passing a series of bills to open parts of the government the last week. Senate Democrats want just one bill to open all of it. So we'll see what happens there. And while many FDA food inspectors are on furlough because of the shutdown, out west, hundreds of people have fallen ill after eating chicken contaminated with salmonella. Officials say the cause of the problem is raw chicken packaged by Foster Farms in California. At least 18 states have reported cases throughout, although most are in California. Despite that, Foster Farms is refusing to recall the chicken, so most of their product is still on store shelves. The company says it has already taken corrective action, but the FDA says they cannot confirm if the product has been fixed, so this will be continued. And Libya's prime minister is back at work after he was abducted earlier today. A crowd of people quickly ushered Ali Zidane into his office shortly after he was freed. Gunmen allegedly kidnapped the prime minister Thursday from a hotel in Tripoli. Reports have suggested that the capture was in retaliation for Saturday's U.S. raid in Libya that captured former al-Qaeda member Abu Anas al-Libi. The prime minister, speaking from the Libyan parliament today, appealed to his nation for calm in the wake of his kidnapping. And in Japan, more serious safety problems for the Fukushima nuclear plant. In this latest accident, 6 workers were covered with highly radioactive water. Officials say the workers were mistakenly removing a pipe that the facility uses to treat contaminated water. The 6 workers are now being tested for other health issues. This is the second accident that has resulted from human error at the facility this week, and it's the same location, of course, that was badly damaged during the earthquake and tsunami in Japan in 2011. Coming up next in your Newsmax Now update, we have an exclusive interview with Senator John McCain about Egypt, plus a roller coaster gets stuck at a Florida theme park.
Here's today's silver shortage update from Lear Capital.
Reports keep coming, the shortage is growing. Twice already this year, the U.S. Mint has run out. Last time this happened, the silver price jumped 40%. It's time to take advantage with this special offer from Lear Capital.
For a limited time, buy 20 new silver polar bear coins and get one free. The only 1.5 ounce coin on the market. It's minted with the finest silver, carries a government guarantee, and is eligible for IRAs. The silver polar bear is available exclusively from Lear Capital. But don't wait. Silver supplies are shrinking and availability is not guaranteed. This offer is limited to a minimum purchase of $5,000. Call right now. 800-634-0482. 800-634-0482. Call Lear Capital now. 800-634-0482.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
What is LigNet? LigNet is knowledge. LigNet is power. LigNet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is LigNet? LigNet is confidential. LigNet is sensitive. LigNet is security. What is LigNet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on lignet.com. You've been briefed.
About a dozen thrill seekers got a little more than they bargained for last night in Orlando. The roller coaster they were riding at Universal Studios got stuck in an almost vertical position for about 2 hours. Once firefighters arrived, they were able to get that ride into a horizontal position and get everybody off and get them back onto solid ground. Workers are still trying to figure out what exactly caused the ride to seize up in the first place. And during a Newsmax exclusive, we talked with Senator John McCain about that big announcement from the White House yesterday on Egypt. The U.S. is rolling back some of the military aid it gives that country each year. McCain says it's the right move, but it's coming way too late. And McCain says we need to be focusing more attention on Egypt as violence and unrest there continue and could lead to another conflict like the one we're seeing play out in Syria.
If the unrest continues, look, you're going to have an insurgency in Egypt because 30% of the people support the Muslim Brotherhood.
This has been your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. Take care.
Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show as we take a break from the politics of the day, kind of, to go to the politics of maybe a little bit of religion. And I am so honored and thrilled to have sitting here in the studio with me the grandson of Billy Graham, who you're telling me is now 95 years old?
He'll be 95 on November 7th.
God bless him.
Yeah.
An early happy birthday instead of belated to him. Yeah. And we welcome in Tullian Tchividjian.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Good. No, you got it.
You got to admit, it's a tough name.
It is. And I tell people it rhymes with religion, if that helps.
Right,
Tchividjian religion.
Yes, Tchividjian religion.
Yeah.
That makes it a lot easier. Absolutely. You didn't tell me that before.
I know.
Right, and he is the author of a new book called One Way Love, Inexhaustible Grace for an Exhausted World. And it's, I don't know if you'd call it a critique of the church, but certainly we should also say that you, of course, your granddad, Coral Ridge Presbyterian Church, and but you're the senior pastor of that church.
Yeah.
People, I watch a lot of media. That's what I do, and that's what I love to do. And when the Pope, for instance, was being chosen, we had female nun on there saying, we got to get a pope that's going to get female nuns in there. Got to let priests marry. Got to embrace homosexuality. And you say the church has problems, has always had problems, but needs to progress with the times. How so?
Well, I think we've gotten a little off message. And the way that I know that is because I talk to people. I talk to lots of people inside the church, people who used to go to church. And I think people are tired. They're burnt out. They are on the receiving end of lots of do more, try harder sermons. The church is not the first place that people think to go if they are weary and heavy laden and tired and needing relief, because oftentimes what they get in church is, exhortations to perform better, to do more, to try harder, to stop certain behaviors and start other behaviors and that sort of thing. And it's not that those things are unimportant, but those things are derivatives. They're secondary to the church's primary message, which is God has done for us in Jesus what we could never do for ourselves. So the focus of the Christian faith is not what we do or how we perform or the sacrifices we make. The focus of the Christian faith has always been the work God has done for us, God's performance for us in Jesus, His obedience for us. So that's where I think we've kind of shifted the focus away from Jesus and what he's done to us and what we do, which was, I think, characterized perfectly in that, bracelet craze that happened a few years ago. What would Jesus do? I mean, that's kind of become the focus of the Christian faith. What would Jesus do?
Instead of what he has done.
Instead of what Jesus has already done. Because that's where we find the rest and the fuel to actually do. When we revel in and rest in his work for us, it actually produces more work from us.
Okay, so how has that, I think you kind of just described it, but let me take the question almost in reverse. How has that hampered the church or the followers of the faith, your faith, because of the change in focus that needs to be shifted back in your view?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think in a number of ways. One, as I mentioned, people are tired and they're not making it and they feel burdened. I mean, Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." And then he turned around and looked at the Pharisees and said, "Woe are you, Pharisees, for tying up heavy burdens and putting them on people's shoulders." I think church needs to be a place where we hear once again that Jesus has come to do for bedraggled train wrecks like me, Tullian, what I could never do for myself. No matter how hard I work, no matter how good my kids turn out, no matter how great my marriage is, no matter how many people buy books or listen to sermons, in my particular case, I will never be able to secure my own worth, value, significance, that sort of thing. That's what I need someone else outside of me to do, and the gospel is the good news that that's happened.
We're talking to Tullian Chavijan.
Perfect.
Yeah,
you nailed it, man. Yeah,
you
got
this
it.
religion trick, I would have had it right. Yeah. The author of One Way Love, Inexhaustible Grace for an Exhausted World. I am holding that in my hands for those of you watching it at Newsmax TV. What I asked you this before we went on the air, but I want you to say, what would your grandfather, what has he said about your points of view, what you're saying right now, and does he feel similar? Yeah,
I mean, I think he's, of course, tired and weary and is not paying as careful attention these days as he was, let's say, when he was 40, but he would agree.
He's allowed at 95.
He is, but he would agree, I think, and this has always been his message. He has always, even when he was getting pressure, when he would conduct his crusades around the world, he would get pressure from different groups to focus his message on different things, whether social issues or behavior issues or whatever issues of the day. And he would always say the root issue, the heart of the human problem is the problem of the human heart. And so my job as a preacher is to preach Jesus and what he's done and let God handle the rest. So I think he would agree. I really do feel like this is, in many ways, a modern day version of what he spent his entire ministry saying.
Do you find that the shift in focus is as a result of any kind of selfishness? And again, I'm Jewish.
Sure.
I'm not talking about the selfishness of your particular faith. I'm talking about in general, society.
Yeah.
Is it as a result of a societal selfishness on me, as opposed to the God that you worship, or not?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's selfishness that comes into play. I think there's narcissism that comes into play. I mean, we're so fixated on ourselves and what we need to do and how to fix ourselves and how to improve ourselves. And we're so obsessed with ourselves that we're almost incapable of detecting the needs of our neighbor and serving those needs. Well, the Christian faith, anyway, announces that all of the worth, all of the value, all of the significance, all the security, approval, acceptance that you long for and that you're looking for in 1,000 different things has already been secured for you by God. And so now, once I realize, okay, everything I need, I already possess, now I can actually look at you and say, what do you need? Not what can I get from you, what can I take from you, but what can I give to you? So I really do think that if the church is going to be relevant in our very busy and exhausting times, we're going to need to preach a message of inexhaustible grace to people.
And do you find that that you need to reach out? In other words, Is faith falling off? Are people turning away? Is this a way to bring them back, or by preaching this message, which I think is a great message? Could that turn people further away, because people by nature seem to be interested
very
in
well
themselves?
Said. Yes,
and they do meet you and say, "What could you do for me?" So your message, well intended, true,
right?
With your belief system, because I'm not an expert in your religion at all. Could that have a reverse somehow effect on people?
Yeah, I mean, I think
is that a risk?
Jesus. Well, there's of course, and I think this message has always divided the field in the sense that the people who know they're not making it, the people who aren't cutting it, the people who are tuned in with their weaknesses and their frailty and their fallibility, they love this because it's relief. The people who think they're making it, the people who think they're good, the people who think they're righteous, they don't want to hear this. Right. And it really does. I mean, I tell people at our church all the time, if we're not attracting the same kinds of people Jesus attracted, no, we're not preaching the same message he preached, because it was really, it was the prostitutes and the tax collectors and the social outcasts that flocked to Jesus because they knew they were failures. It was the Pharisees who thought they were great and promoted themselves as being better than everybody else and were very, very self-righteous. They hated him because he was coming to say, you're not capable. I've come to be capable for you.
We're talking to Tully and Chividjian. I could say that name now.
You're
in my
nailing
sleep.
it. I'm very impressed.
One-way love, inexhaustible grace for an exhausted world here on the Steve Malzberg Show. All right, let me throw you a few curves. I don't mean to, and I hope I'm not overstepping here. The media.
Yeah.
You find a guy like Tim Tebow, okay, and the media can't wait to bash him, mock him. Goodies out of football, the hate mail that comes, the comments, the sports writers, and I've maintained all along, and Gene Simmons, who owns a arena football team through KISS, was on with me, and he agreed. He actually repeated it on Fox and Friends the next day. I said, if there was a Muslim player who insisted that during the game he's going to get on his prayer rug and pray to Mecca because it's his religion, they would love him. They would praise him and love him and embrace him. But this Christian man who loves God and is not afraid to say it, he's evil. Who wants to hear from him?
Right.
Why?
It's interesting, isn't it? It's really interesting. I mean, some of the most intolerant people I've ever met are the people who champion tolerance the loudest.
Oh, please.
And they end up...
And it goes with, to me, I find that with the rights groups.
Right.
The atheists.
Right.
The gay rights groups, the spokespeople, demand total tolerance, but show no tolerance for your point of view.
Right. Yeah, and that's that's sort of a philosophical irony. I think anytime a religious figure or someone who's very outspoken about their faith, whatever that faith is, anytime someone in the limelight who's outspoken about their faith exercises that in public, it's always controversial. It really is. And I'm not exactly sure why, but it is. And I know it has been for Tim, and I know it has been for a lot of other athletes and actors.
Christians, Christian athletes.
Well, no, you're right, because it's interesting. Tom Cruise, for instance, doesn't get raked over the coals for being a Scientologist.
And if that player existed, I truly believe in my heart, the Muslim player, and I would say, fine, do it. But he would be a superstar, and Tebow would be a villain.
Well, and part of it, to be honest with you, and I'll take sort of a shot at my own tradition, part of it has been because, and this goes into what the book has to say as well, I think the church got off track in the late 70s, throughout the 80s, 90s, the evangelical church, by becoming so associated with politics, and specifically conservative politics, which conservative, it's fine, but the church became so associated, the evangelical, with the moral majority and the religious right, that they made a lot of enemies. And I think one of the reasons they made those enemies is because they got off message.
Yeah, and
I
of
really
course
do.
You have a media, which is another story, which is totally to the left, and that breeds. Now, one more. And as a Jew, I have been doing show after show with, not every show, not the whole show, but guest after guest. What's going on with the killing, the persecution, the burning of churches all over the Middle East, in Muslim countries and African countries, and this country as a country, but based on our leadership, the president, the secretary of state, silent. Silent. And to my chagrin, Christians in this country, for the most part, are silent. I mean, it's 2013, and they're getting killed for not converting to Islam.
Right.
They're burning. Why? Why aren't Christians not rising up, but speaking out?
Yeah, at least speaking out and calling on
I mean, if
other
your
Christians to
grandfather
pray.
were 20 years younger, I think he would do something.
And he did do things like that. I mean, he certainly did that in the South in when he would go down there to preach with segregation. I mean, he was always a champion for equal rights in that regard.
So why the silence?
You know, I don't know. I really don't know. I certainly can't speak as to why the silence from certain leaders in government, but in terms of the Christian church, I mean, I think there's in my circles, I think people have called out. I think people have called out for prayer. People have called out. It depends on what segment of the church you're listening to. I think certain, I don't know. I mean, I think certain segments of the church, for whatever reason, think that it's none of our business, that's what's going on over there, and we Americans are way too prone to go flex our muscles in places where we shouldn't flex our muscles.
For military intervention,
right?
Just maybe a million, 2 million men march on the mall,
right?
Something
just to say,
Anyway.
I mean, I'm privileged to be a part, and certain segments of the evangelical church have brought this. Brought this up and are calling on churches, and other churches have, decided let's pray together.
If we could help get the message out at any time if something does come up.
That'd be great.
Please get back to us. All right, the book is One Way Love. It's by the grandson of Billy Graham, and his name is Tullian Tchividjian.
Yep.
Tchividjian!
You nailed it. Yes.
Tchividjian. I don't like these Smith names anymore. I want complicated names. Great to meet you.
Great to meet you too. Thanks for having me.
All right, folks, we're going to continue. You want to weigh in on any of this? 855-777-9660. Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Are you worried about not having enough money to retire? Finally, there's a retirement solution designed to address the damage that the government spending policies and the Federal Reserve have inflicted on the value of the dollar. Introducing the Heritage Advantage IRA, the new gold and silver-backed retirement account from Heritage Gold Group. Don't let the declining value of the dollar put your retirement in jeopardy. The Heritage Advantage IRA puts retirement savers back in control with physical gold and silver combined with the tax advantages of an IRA. Call 855-GOLD-IRA to request your free, no-obligation Heritage Advantage IRA kit. Inside, you'll find information about how to buy physical gold and silver with your existing IRA or 401k. No additional investment required. Call 855-GOLD-IRA for your free Advantage IRA kit. Don't wait. Plans for new regulations may eliminate rules allowing you to buy gold and silver with your existing IRA or 401k. Call 855-GOLD-IRA. That's 855-465-3472.
Hello, my name is Fred Fleitz, and I'm the managing editor of Lignet. You've probably seen our name preceding some of the stories you read on Newsmax or heard Lignet referenced on Fox News, C-SPAN, or CNN. Perhaps you've asked yourself, what is Lignet? Lignet is an acronym for the Langley Intelligence Group Network, a private Washington, D.C. based service that provides global intelligence, in-depth analysis, and detailed forecasting.
Who is Lignet?
Lignet's staff and advisors include former CIA officers, national security experts, presidential advisors, and top-level government officials from around the world. I myself held several national security posts for the U.S. government during my 25-year career with the Central Intelligence Agency, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the U.S. Department of State, and the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Our lead advisor is General Michael Hayden, the former director of the CIA. He is joined by former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations John Bolton and former chairman of the National Intelligence Council and Special Assistant to President Ronald Reagan Fritz Ehrmann, former U.S. Ambassador to Venezuela Otto Reich, and former clandestine service officer Frederick Russman. Former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee Peter Hoekstra also joined our advisory board staff.
What is Lignet's mission?
Every day, our goal is to use our expertise, our resources, and our worldwide staff to take the pulse of the ever-changing political and economic landscape and the threats we face on a daily basis. Whether you are following global events for your portfolio or business, or just interested in the world around you, Lignet provides what you need to know to keep up with global events.
What are the benefits of joining Lignet?
There are many. Every day, Lignet members receive the Morning Brief, a daily email that provides summaries and links to our daily analysis to keep you up to date on LigNet's assessments. LigNet members receive unrestricted access to LigNet's secure database of global analysis. All of our special reports, previous analyses, and exclusive video interviews with intelligence insiders are available to members 24 hours a day. But you also get top-notch analysis that resembles the President's Daily Brief, the classified intelligence assessment delivered to the President of the United States every morning. LigNet also sends breaking news emails to our membership list. If there is a development of global proportions or a terror alert, our subscribers are always the first to know. I hope you now have a better understanding of what LigNet is, but more importantly, recognize how truly invaluable LigNet can be. As the old saying goes, knowledge is power.
Join LigNet for $1. Go to lignet.com/radio.
Breaking news and breaking hearts. Aww. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Very interesting conversation with Tullian Tchividjian. See, I was dreading that. All right, here, you see what you know what it's like? Once he told me it sounds like religion, then I could look at it and say, oh, Tchividjian. It's not the same, but the acronym. There was an acronym when I was a kid. A girl in Helen Velarde. I don't know what year, but we were in first grade till sixth grade together. She taught me how to remember to spell arithmetic. A rat in the house might eat the ice cream. A-R, right on down the line, the first letter of each one of those words. A rat in the house might eat the ice cream. And you got arithmetic. So you tell me Tchividjian sounds like religion, and I could pronounce it perfectly. I got to tell you, what an amazing, amazing thing. Good conversation. A pleasure, to meet the grandson of the great, really, 95 years old now, Billy Graham. Unbelievable. Anyway, maybe they will do something more as far as organizing some kind of protest or something to speak out against what's going on in many parts of the world against Christians. On the other side, we're going to speak with Kendall Coffey. It's Thursday already. How could it be Thursday already? Kendall Coffey, as we go spinning the law, we have a lot of good topics and cases and legal issues to talk about with him. Alan West will join us later on. And David Horowitz. David Horowitz, founder, president of the David Horowitz Freedom Center, editor of Front Page Magazine, frontpagemag.com. He's launched something called Truth Revolt, and they're going after left-wing media people like Al Sharpton, who has a history that is a mile long, and they're targeting sponsors of these shows. In other words, they're doing what the left has done for years and years and decades. Writing letters to sponsors. You could get 20 people together and launch a campaign and scare the but-you-know-whatses out of sponsors. And that's what the left has always done. Well, now the right, some of the right, is going to play by those same rules. And I'm sure the left will not like it. All right, we're coming back. Steve Malzberg, 855-777-9660 on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you're a man over 40, your prostate could be forcing you to urinate frequently, even disrupting your sleep multiple times each night. You're not alone. Over half of men over 40 experience age-related prostate concerns. Fortunately, prominent medical doctor David Brownstein believes that aging prostate concerns are not inevitable. That's why Dr. Brownstein developed Prostate Revive, an advanced dietary supplement containing a unique blend of 15 ingredients designed to promote optimal prostate health. So men, as part of this new radio promotion, you now have the opportunity to claim your own 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, containing saw palmetto, beta-cytosterol, and numerous other prostate helpers. Just cover a $4.95 shipping and handling charge. Plus, if you act now, you'll also get a doctor's guide to a healthy prostate as a bonus gift. Please visit prostaterevive.com/radio for details on getting your 30-day supply of Prostate Revive and free report. That's prostaterevive.com/radio. Do something about those annoying age-related prostate concerns. Visit prostaterevive.com/radio now while supplies last.
Men, this is the time in your life when you have more freedom to travel, more time for leisure, including an active lifestyle, even a renewed intimacy. The last thing you want is the hassle of an aging prostate. Frequent trips to the bathroom also keep you awake at night. But here's good news. Renowned physician Dr. David Brownstein believes that prostate concerns do not have to be an inevitable part of aging. As a result, Dr. Brownstein has recently developed Prostate Revive, the dietary supplement specifically formulated to help improve and sustain normal prostate function. Learn more about how you can receive a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit prostaterevive.com/special for complete details. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate, while supplies last. Try Prostate Revive for 30 days at prostaterevive.com/special. That's prostaterevive.com/special.
If you're a man over 40, your prostate could be forcing you to urinate frequently, even disrupting your sleep multiple times each night. You're not alone. Over half of men over 40 experience age-related prostate concerns. Fortunately, prominent medical doctor David Brownstein believes that aging prostate concerns are not inevitable. That's why Dr. Brownstein developed Prostate Revive, an advanced dietary supplement containing a unique blend of 15 ingredients designed to promote optimal prostate health. So men, as part of this new radio promotion, you now have the opportunity to claim your own 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, containing saw palmetto, beta-cytosterol, and numerous other prostate helpers. Just cover a $4.95 shipping and handling charge. Plus, if you act now, you'll also get a doctor's guide to a healthy prostate as a bonus gift. Please visit prostaterevive.com/radio for details on getting your 30-day supply of Prostate Revive and free report. That's prostaterevive.com/radio. Do something about those annoying age-related prostate concerns. Visit prostaterevive.com/radio now while supplies last.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented, and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, the Obama. He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, the Obama. More than 500,000 Americans who have their copy.
Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare311.com. Obamacare311.com. That's Obamacare311.com.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. We are efforting, as they say, Kendall Coffee for our Spinning the Law segment. Actually, we could do the Spinning the Law little theme. We could do it. I know he'll be here. I have confidence. So, you know what? I think if he hears the music, telepathically, wherever he is, he will stop what he's doing and say, oh, my God, it's Spinning the Law time. So, without any further ado, no, not yet. Okay, let me get a thumbs up. They can't find him in the office? All right, he has a cell phone. If they could, I don't have handy, but we do have that number. Could they give you the cell phone number, please? And we could try that and give them the number to call. And this way we're covered on all bases. All right. We have it? All right. This is now I want everybody to think. Close your eyes and think. think that this should be heard by Kendall Coffey. This should be heard by Kendall Coffey. This should be heard by Kendall Coffey. Here we go.
You have the right to remain silent, but we'd prefer if you didn't.
Spinning the law, spinning the law.
This is Malzberg's
Spinning the law.
Spinning the Law.
Spinning the law, spinning the law.
With attorney Kendall Coffey.
All right, I have all the confidence in the world that will have gotten through to Kendall Coffey, and he will have heard that, as I said, telepathically or however that works, and he will join us. Just a matter of time, my friends. Just a matter of time. One of the things that we're going to talk about with Kendall is a judge is weighing whether or not in Pennsylvania he's being asked to dismiss an assisted suicide charge filed against a nurse in her 93-year-old father's death while he was at a hospice. The woman is accused of giving morphine to her father. He was terminally ill. And defense attorneys call her a loving daughter who only handed him the bottle of morphine at his request. And they argue that there's no evidence even that the morphine killed him. So we have that story. We also have a story, kind of bizarre. A lot of these stories tend to be bizarre. Well, we'll save it because I told you it would work. Kendall, I got to tell you, when they said they didn't know where you were, I played the theme. And I said telepathically, when he hears the Spinning the Law theme, wherever he is, he's going to drop what he's doing and say, it's Spinning the Law time. And here, it worked. It worked.
I was feeling something powerful, and that's got to be it. It's the music. It's the passion.
I know how much you love it, so therefore we played it for you, and there you are. Well, I'm glad you made the time for us, as always. Thank you very much. All right, let's start. I just brought up, before we get to the Supreme Court and all that, since I just brought up the case of this Pennsylvania woman, a judge, I don't know if he's acted yet or not today, but he's being asked to dismiss a woman charged with assisted suicide. She's a nurse. Her 93-year-old father was in a hospice. She handed him a bottle of morphine at his request, she says. Her lawyers say there's no evidence that the morphine even killed him. But he died in the hospital 4 days later after a hospice nurse who stopped by called 911 despite a do not resuscitate order. So this is he was terminally ill. This is, a touchy subject.
Well, it is, and it hits all of us emotionally. My father's 92. Thankfully, he's still alive, but so many of us, Steve, face these really difficult decisions. And what the law says as of now, and virtually all states, is that there may be a moral justification, but legally speaking, assisted suicide is still a crime in most places. Now, you would think that the authorities would use a lot of discretion and decide, my heavens, is this a criminal or is this a loving daughter?
Right, yeah, and decide, because they have prosecutorial discretion as onto what to take up and what not to prosecute, correct?
Absolutely, and it's just strikes you that in these circumstances where there are some real questions about causation and things of the like, and obviously there was no kind of criminal intent even remotely in this scenario. It seems like a situation where families should be left alone and tragedies respected and not punished.
Yeah, we should point out that a lower court judge approved the charges because a police captain testified that the woman had originally said her father wanted to die and she gave him the morphine. Assisted suicide in Pennsylvania is a felony punishable by up to 10 years in prison. All right, now let's move on. We'll save the Supreme Court for last. Let's move on to another story that is, this one's kind of, I don't know. You tell me. A state appeals court yesterday tossed out child abuse findings against a frustrated Northern California mother who spanked her 12-year-old daughter hard enough with a wooden spoon to cause bruising. And you know what this reminds me of right off the bat? I don't know if you saw the press conference. The 9-year-old who managed to stow away on a plane get through the security gate and take a plane somewhere the other day. The father did a press conference. He was all hidden with a hoodie and he had his face covered, and he was practically crying, saying, I asked for help for the authorities. They say there's nothing they could do. And then I asked the cop if I beat my son's butt for doing this. He says, we'll arrest you for child abuse. So he says, and he started crying almost. Somebody's got to help me. I need help with this kid. But that aside, the 6th District Court of Appeals in San Jose reversed the child abuse determination, which was made by a lower court. Social workers wanted to report this guy to the State Department of Justice and keep him in a database, but the appeals court tossed this out.
Well, it's, when you ask somebody in Florida about that, all we can think of is the many times the social workers fail to see the real instances of child abuse. And time again, we read about, literally deaths of children because the social workers claim they've got too many things to be doing and to keep track of. I mean, my heavens, wooden spoon. I don't know what the extent of bruising was, but it doesn't look like anything in this suggests the acts of a criminal. The social workers have caseloads. They've got a lot of people who really, really need their help. Is this the kind of thing that needs to be in the courts, Steve?
No, absolutely not. And the same thing has happened in New York and in New Jersey. And I could only imagine, and this is not a defense, because whatever happened to good old-fashioned spanking? I mean, it's basic. It's practically outlawed. I know parents are afraid to spank their kids legitimately. And by the way, the judge in this case said that nothing in the record suggests the mother should have known she was inflicting bruises, saying that the spanking was entirely the product of a genuine and deliberate disciplinary purpose, which I guess means that, at least in his view, you can discipline your kids by spanking them. But I guess these social workers, and again, it's not a defense, get so many cases, and they're so afraid of liability or whatever that what if this kid, I don't know, it turned out that he was subsequently or she was subsequently beaten and then they didn't catch it the first time and there was a record of it, then they'd be in trouble. I think we give the social workers maybe sometimes too much leeway, and there should be criteria, and paddling someone or spanking someone shouldn't be the criteria where a social worker gets involved.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to outlaw spanking. I wish they would have done it decades ago. It would have done me some good. But and you're right, because they're in a difficult position. If they fail to report bruising, and then 3 months later it turns out that the bruisers were a sign of something more serious, then of course it's all the more blameworthy. The question here is, where's the judgment? I mean, let's not blame the social worker, but at some point somebody in the supervisory chain or in the system decided that apparently a relatively nonviolent disciplinary event was turned into some form of a crime or serious wrongdoing. That's where the gap is, and it's going to keep happening because all the social workers that overreport and overreact are going to be told many times about the folks that drop the ball and don't bring troubling signs to the symptoms of the authority. This is one where I think the mistake is not the original report. They just took it too far, and this is one where a California court has done something that I agree with.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. We're talking to Kendall Coffey here on the Spinning the Law segment. Of course, he has the book out by that same name, which talks about so many of the high-profile great cases he's been involved in. I highly recommend it. The case of Aaron Hernandez, the former New England Patriots tight end, and I never thought I'd talk about this case, but it's interesting. There was supposed to be just a boring old routine court hearing yesterday to discuss pending motions, but the prosecutors now filed a motion to have the judge handling the case replaced, citing her handling of a 2010 murder trial as the reason for her to step aside, and the defense doesn't like this.
Well, it's extraordinary for prosecutors to seek to disqualify a judge. Those kind of motions happen all the time by defense lawyers who feel they have to cover themselves and file a lot of different motions or else be accused of ineffective assistance of counsel. So ordinarily, just looking at the allegations, I would say, well, if some prosecutor had a difficult time with a judge 3 years ago, that's generally not good enough. But it's hard to think that there wasn't a serious concern. So I'm not going to make a prediction on this one and just sort of note that it's very rare for prosecutors to make these kind of motions. And just because of that reality, it's something that has to be taken seriously.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's move on to the Supreme Court. They're going to have a lot of high-profile cases, and one of them they heard arguments on, and that was the Alabama businessman who's challenging federal caps on political contributions. He basically said that if I, give X amount of money to a bunch of congressional candidates in my state, and then I reach the limit, but I still want to give a contribution to a guy in another state running for a different office, I'm not allowed to. So he's arguing for it to, the caps to go away. And, by what they had to say, at least the conservative justices on the court did show sympathy, while the liberal justices were a little harder.
Well, I think conservatives as well as liberals would acknowledge that this is free speech. I mean, your ability to advocate your views in the political world is about as fundamental a thing as our founding fathers were focused on. And so this is the heart of what First Amendment free speech is about. And whether you're getting your message out by standing on a street corner with a sign and yelling, or you're doing it by funding candidates and causes you believe in, it's pretty clearly free speech. So the question is, what are the justifications for limiting free speech? And as you know, Steve, you've got to have a really, really strong one to limit something that's constitutionally protected. So the issue in a case like this is, okay, if you maintain a cap of $123,200 over a 2-year cycle, so that's all you can personally contribute. This doesn't deal with a lot of other campaign finance issues, but that's all you can personally contribute over the 2 years. What is the justification for that? And is there a case, is there a record that says, oh, well, if we keep that cap in place, we are going to reduce corruption in politics? And, they just don't seem to have a lot of evidence to point out that it'll have any such impact. And consider a couple other things. In the last election cycle, there were allegations that, there were super billionaires that were putting a lot of their own money into the election, and yet both sides seem to have plenty of money. It's really hard to say that a handful of very wealthy people have hijacked the system when you look at all the ability the candidates now have to raise money from whatever sources. So I think the allegation that this is somehow protecting us from corruption or protecting the system from the few controlling everything and effectively disenfranchise those who are not wealthy, those kind of justifications just don't seem to be very compelling at this point.
Right, and this is, of course, the Citizens United decision back in 2010, which the president blasted just the other day, affected the amount of money corporations and unions spend on elections. This is about individuals. Let's briefly just skim over. I mean, this is a very busy session. There's a lot of controversial social issues that are coming up. In addition to this one, we have bans on college affirmative action, housing claims that allege unfair impact based on race. We have abortion issues coming before the court, and religious freedom as it applies in the Obamacare or Affordable Care Act. So there's a lot that I guess between now and June that they're going to have to decide on.
Yeah, it could be a momentous session because a number of issues have been teed up where what seems to be, for most purposes, a 5-member majority of the Supreme Court can make some decisions that some would say are conservative issues on social issues. And at the same time, they seem to sort of follow the script that the Chief Justice advocates, which is moving the law in small steps or incrementally, not just throwing out in a single stroke years of precedent so much as moving things gradually and thoughtfully. So I would be expecting that this term you're going to see some movement, not, shocking day and night movement, but perhaps some steady steps in a direction that some would say is more conservative with respect to key social issues.
And we shall see, of course, God forbid, anybody on the court decides to leave or has to leave, then, and I say God forbid, then Barack Obama would get yet another appointee, and that could tilt depending on who that person might be. Kendall, always a pleasure, sir, and always an honor. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, keep playing that theme music.
All right, can we do we have it to play now? Yeah, okay. Let's play it going out here for Kendall, so we can hear it for real. Take care, Kendall Coffey, ladies and gentlemen, spinning the law on the Steve Malzberg Show.
You have the right to remain silent, but we'd prefer if you didn't.
Spinning the law, spinning the law.
This is Malzberg's
Spinning the law.
Spinning the Law.
Spinning the law, spinning the law.
With attorney Kendall Coffey. The Steve Malzberg Show.
Do you have trouble remembering things you've known for years? Do you want to maintain your mental edge, support your memory, focus, and attention? After extensive research, Dr. Russell Blaylock discovered 4 essential nutrients that help sustain optimal brain function. Dr. Russell Blaylock then personally formulated Crescio, the dietary supplement containing these 4 brain boosters that promote brain cognitive health, improve learning and retention. Crescio supports brain circulation and provides antioxidant protection. And now you can receive a 30-day supply of Crescio. All you pay is a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit Crescio.com/special. Act now and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, Nature's Brain Boosters, Essential Nutrients for Peak Mental Performance. Give your brain the healthy support it needs. Learn how you can receive your 30-day supply at Crescio.com/special. That's Cresceo.com/special. Crescio.com/special.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect with higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts, and some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book.
Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare311.com. Obamacare311.com. That's Obamacare311.com.
This is the worst weather we've seen in quite some time, folks, and I don't see any end in sight. People have been calling in from across the state complaining their basements are flooding. One guy said he now has an indoor swimming pool in his basement. I told him he needs the waterproofing innovations from Basement Systems. If you want a dry basement or crawl space that will weather any kind of storm, you need the patented solutions from Basement Systems. You've seen them on home makeover shows throughout the country. With a lifetime warranty, every solution is custom designed for your basement. You can finally have that room you've always wanted with our total basement finishing system. Call now for a free estimate, and you'll never have to worry about storms like these again.
Call now for your free basement inspection at 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794. Learn how to waterproof your basement now. Call this number, 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794. If you are successful at what you do, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a business owner, or you have a great career, you understand the concept of protecting yourself. Well, are you protecting yourself, your family, and your assets with quality term life insurance? Consider these possible rates. A man age 45, non-tobacco user could obtain $1 million of coverage for as little as $75 a month, and this rate is fixed for the next 10 years. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. A man age 50, non-tobacco user may be able to obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $115 a month, and this rate is fixed for the next 20 years. We have great rates for smokers too. Call the Term Lifeline now. 800-430-1309, 800-430-1309, 800-430-1309.
Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Credit card companies lure you in with low introductory rates or low minimum payments, and before you know it, you owe thousands of dollars in credit card debt. It has happened to millions of good people just like you. But here's the good news. Thanks to a powerful program now approved, anyone with $2,000 or more in credit card debt can cut their credit card payments up to half and even reduce or eliminate interest charges altogether. That's right. Our nationwide nonprofit program is helping U.S. residents cut their credit card payments. Call 800-613-3159 now. The call and information are free. We've helped over 500,000 people with their credit card debt, and now we can help you. Call 800-613-3159 to see how this powerful nonprofit program can work for you. Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Get free of credit card debt today. Call 800-613-3159. That's 800-613-3159. Again, 800-613-3159.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at Newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I had to do a double take on this because I still can't believe what I'm reading. The House yesterday sought to remedy what they thought they had already fixed before the shutdown, that not only will the military be paid, but they thought that bill included, as we talked with the Congressman Uselkamp and as Congressman Gomer told me last Friday, when they passed that the military payment bill or whatever it was, in the event of a shutdown, military would be taken care of. They assumed that included the $100,000 payments to the families of the fallen soldiers or fallen heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice. The Pentagon, for whatever reason, interpreted it differently and said, no, it doesn't say that. We're not paying them. Okay. So the House yesterday passed a bill saying, okay, let's specifically address this. Pay those families. Today, the Senate passed that bill that says pay those families. In the interim, the Pentagon made a deal with Fisher House, a private organization, to pay those families, and they will eventually, Fisher House will be reimbursed. So right now you have a private entity that has written the checks for these families. So when the bill came to Barack Obama's desk today, the bill passed by the House yesterday, passed by the Senate today, President Obama says, we're not signing it. This is according to Jay Carney today. He opposed passage of the funding for the veterans' death benefits because Fisher House has agreed to cover the costs. The legislation is not necessary, Carney said. Our view has been this piecemeal funding is, again, a gimmick. A gimmick? Now, I'd probably say things that will get me kicked off the air if it weren't for the Fisher House taking care of this right now. But what if Fisher House wasn't? What if Fisher House wasn't taking care of this? Would the president, the man who has no willingness to negotiate, would the president stick to his hard line and say, no piecemeal bills? He has done it for kids with cancer. He's done it for veterans services. He's done it for the city of Washington, D.C. He's done it for the monuments and the parks around the country. And now he's done it for military families who have lost loved ones. But again, thank God, Fisher House is meeting the gap. But would he give in? Would he sign it if Fisher House wasn't involved? These are gimmicks to him? Gimmicks? Hey, Mr. President, tell it to the kid with cancer that it's a gimmick. Dr. Obama, tell him. Tell the parent who can't get her kid the treatment because Harry Reid won't pass it and you won't sign it because it's a gimmick. Tell that to the kids' mothers. What a disgrace to the office of the presidency. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And I thought Clinton was bad. Clinton's a hero compared to this guy. There you go. The President of the United States on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show. Are you worried about not having enough money to retire? Finally, there's a retirement solution designed to address the damage that the government spending policies and the Federal Reserve have inflicted on the value of the dollar. Introducing the Heritage Advantage IRA, the new gold and silver-backed retirement account from Heritage Gold Group. Don't let the declining value of the dollar put your retirement in jeopardy. The Heritage Advantage IRA puts retirement savers back in control with physical gold and silver combined with the tax advantages of an IRA. Call 855-GOLD-IRA to request your free, no-obligation Heritage Advantage IRA kit. Inside, you'll find information about how to buy physical gold and silver with your existing IRA or 401k. No additional investment required. Call 855-GOLD-IRA for your free Advantage IRA kit. Don't wait. Plans for new regulations may eliminate rules allowing you to buy gold and silver with your existing IRA or 401k. Call 855-GOLD-IRA. That's 855-465-3472.
Do you have a motorized wheelchair or scooter that needs repairs and you don't know where to turn? Then call the experts at Precision Repair Network. They are the specialists in repairing all makes and models of motorized wheelchairs and scooters. You can call 24/7 and they will come to you anywhere in the United States. They'll give you a loaner to use until they return yours in perfect condition. And your repairs may be covered by your Medicare or your private insurance, so there is little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. If your wheelchair or scooter needs repairs, call this special hotline now and learn how you can get door-to-door service on your repairs at little or no cost to you. Precision Repair Network. They'll get you moving again. Operators are ready to take your call right now. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. That's 800-978-4813.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. It's day 10 of that partial government shutdown, and we are just 1 week away from the date when the Treasury Department says the country will run out of the money to pay its bills. But lawmakers are meeting today with the president as both sides may finally be ready to cut a deal to end the government shutdown and raise the nation's borrowing limit. That deal would buy time to negotiate a larger deficit reduction bill. Sound familiar? We've heard this before. Now, a delegation of GOP House members will then head over to the White House to talk with President Obama about all of this today. Meanwhile, President Obama has indicated that he would welcome a temporary solution for the debt ceiling problem, but he says negotiations for a longer deal can happen only after Congress agrees to fund the government. Meanwhile, lawmakers are searching for common ground. Treasury Secretary Jack Lew warned a Senate panel today that the economy faces irrevocable damage if the borrowing limit is not raised.
I must say there's a parlor sport in Washington of when is the last minute. You can't do that with the debt limit. With the debt limit, if you look for the last minute and you make a mistake, you've done serious damage to the U.S. economy, to the world economy.
There are still some conservatives who say they want changes to Obamacare before they agree to reopen the government. House Republicans have been passing a series of bills to open parts of the government the last week. Senate Democrats want just one bill to open all of it. So we'll see what happens there. And while many FDA food inspectors are on furlough because of the shutdown, out west, hundreds of people have fallen ill after eating chicken contaminated with salmonella. Officials say the cause of the problem is raw chicken packaged by Foster Farms in California. At least 18 states have reported cases throughout, although most are in California. Despite that, Foster Farms is refusing to recall the chicken, so most of their product is still on store shelves. The company says it has already taken corrective action, but the FDA says they cannot confirm if the product has been fixed, so this will be continued. And Libya's prime minister is back at work after he was abducted earlier today. A crowd of people quickly ushered Ali Zidane into his office shortly after he was freed. Gunmen allegedly kidnapped the prime minister Thursday from a hotel in Tripoli. Reports have suggested that the capture was in retaliation for Saturday's U.S. raid in Libya that captured former al-Qaeda member Abu Anas al-Libi. The prime minister, speaking from the Libyan parliament today, appealed to his nation for calm in the wake of his kidnapping. And in Japan, more serious safety problems for the Fukushima nuclear plant. In this latest accident, 6 workers were covered with highly radioactive water. Officials say the workers were mistakenly removing a pipe that the facility uses to treat contaminated water. The 6 workers are now being tested for other health issues. This is the second accident that has resulted from human error at the facility this week, and it's the same location, of course, that was badly damaged during the earthquake and tsunami in Japan in 2011. Coming up next in your Newsmax Now update, we have an exclusive interview with Senator John McCain about Egypt, plus a roller coaster gets stuck at a Florida theme park.
Are you worried about not having enough money to retire? Finally, there's a retirement solution designed to address the damage that the government spending policies and the Federal Reserve have inflicted on the value of the dollar. Introducing the Heritage Advantage IRA, the new gold and silver-backed retirement account from Heritage Gold Group. Don't let the declining value of the dollar put your retirement in jeopardy. The Heritage Advantage IRA puts retirement savers back in control with physical gold and silver combined with the tax advantages of an IRA. Call 855-GOLD-IRA to request your free, no-obligation Heritage Advantage IRA kit. Inside, you'll find information about how to buy physical gold and silver with your existing IRA or 401k. No additional investment required. Call 855-GOLD-IRA for your free Advantage IRA kit. Don't wait. Plans for new regulations may eliminate rules allowing you to buy gold and silver with your existing IRA or 401k. Call 855-GOLD-IRA. That's 855-465-3472.
Do you have a motorized wheelchair or scooter that needs repairs and you don't know where to turn? Then call the experts at Precision Repair Network. They are the specialists in repairing all makes and models of motorized wheelchairs and scooters. You can call 24/7 and they will come to you anywhere in the United States. They'll give you a loaner to use until they return yours in perfect condition. And your repairs may be covered by your Medicare or your private insurance, so there is little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. If your wheelchair or scooter needs repairs, call this special hotline now and learn how you can get door-to-door service on your repairs at little or no cost to you. Precision Repair Network. They'll get you moving again. Operators are ready to take your call right now. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. That's 800-978-4813.
About a dozen thrill seekers got a little more than they bargained for last night in Orlando. The roller coaster they were riding at Universal Studios got stuck in an almost vertical position for about 2 hours. Once firefighters arrived, they were able to get that ride into a horizontal position and get everybody off and get them back onto solid ground. Workers are still trying to figure out what exactly caused the ride to seize up in the first place. And during a Newsmax exclusive, we talked with Senator John McCain about that big announcement from the White House yesterday on Egypt. The U.S. is rolling back some of the military aid it gives that country each year. McCain says it's the right move, but it's coming way too late. And McCain says we need to be focusing more attention on Egypt as violence and unrest there continue and could lead to another conflict like the one we're seeing play out in Syria.
If the unrest continues, look, you're going to have an insurgency in Egypt because 30% of the people support the Muslim Brotherhood.
This has been your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. Take care.
Are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Interview in the presidential library, President Obama told me he definitely feels the pain of the American people as the government shutdown enters its 9th day. Even the White House, he says, is feeling the pinch.
I mean, I've got young people here who are expecting their first child and aren't sure whether they're going to be able to pay their mortgage. And I've got folks who they get in a car accident but aren't sure whether they can pay the deductible.
Is there a message of hope you can offer to the people of Philadelphia?
You know, these things usually get worked out in the end.
You know, my heart does bleed for the White House staff that's feeling this pain, especially the person, you know, in the car accident. They're not going to be able to pay their deductible. Let me tell you a little story, okay? Here's how it works. Here's how I've always found it works. If you have someone who was in a car accident and they just went to the doctor, that deductible isn't going to be due for a long time. And by the way, you could talk to the doctor that you owe the deductible to, the doctor or doctors in question, and say, I'm part of the federal shutdown. I'll send it as soon as we get back. It's not a crisis. But, yeah, sure. Look at the White House. Another person that could be able to pay their mortgage. You know what, Mr. President? You're a millionaire. Lend her a few bucks, one of your workers. Let her pay her mortgage. This is insanity. All right, but let me tell you something. This is one of the best pieces I've read about Barack Obama, and it's by Dr. Keith Abloh. Just saw it on the Fox News website. President Obama's... I never really read anything to you, right? President Obama's rhetoric is finally coming closer to what appears to be his psychological truth. Because Americans victimized him and countless millions of others, any person or party or movement that opposes his views doesn't yield to him is not just his adversary, but abusive, predatory, and even threatening. Listen to this. Again and again, President Obama has described members of Congress. I'm sorry. That's probably why I don't read things to you. Now I gotta have to pull a Marco Rubio. Give me a second here. Full of sugar made the medicine go down, or something like that. Again and again, President Obama has described members of Congress who insist on fiscal responsibility as having taken hostages, demanding a ransom, using extortion, and threatening to blow up the government. Now, folks, this is insane. We've talked about this. But Keith Abloh says it's exceedingly difficult to come to terms with a person who sees you as his oppressor, his kidnapper, and someone terrorizing him who might well destroy him. You aren't likely to consider whether your assailant and a jailer would be a killer, and would-be killer has a few good ideas after all. That's the problem. I've told you about this problem. The president has a fundamental problem with the history, the people he's dealing with, the country he's living in, and I think that's why he's inflicting the pain he's inflicting. I really, really do. A great piece by Dr. Keith Abloh. He says, as a young boy, Obama was indeed helpless. He was helpless to stop his father from abandoning him, helpless to stop his mother from leaving him with his grandparents, helpless to stop his white grandmother and caretaker from communicating to him her fears of black people. I'm not sure the president ever got over it. The president's victim mentality could contribute to the dissolving the will of countless Americans who might otherwise see themselves as capable of summoning internal resolve and creativity to surge out of poverty. True victims can't surge out of anything because they are hostages to forces outside their control. They await justice and restitution. They don't ultimately see themselves as able to stamp out poverty. They see themselves as the rightful recipients of food stamps. They don't ultimately see themselves as able to take control of their health. They see themselves as the rightful recipients of free health insurance. They don't ultimately see themselves as someone worth hiring and worthy of investing themselves with education and training. They see themselves as worthy of 99 weeks of unemployment checks. And the president's victim mentality could have already gone global. The apology tour that the president embraced upon after being elected to his first term, apologizing for America's supposed predatory behavior towards others, turned his victim mentality viral, offering a pandemic of helplessness to anyone who wanted to claim that the ills of its nation were due to a monstrous pathogen called the United States. A victim mentality would explain why the president immediately allies with anyone else he thinks might be a victim too. This explains the seemingly bizarre statements he made castigating local police in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Remember that, for detaining a distinguished Harvard professor. It explains him thinking that if he had a son, that son would look and act just like Trayvon Martin, an alleged drug user and burglar who was shot and killed by George Zimmerman, a man of a different race. In fact, the president went further to suggest that were he 35 years younger, he could be Trayvon Martin. And Keith Abloh finishes up by writing, if the president sees himself as a 17-year-old being held at gunpoint by an older man, then it's too much to expect him to govern efficiently. If he sees himself as having been taken hostage by kidnappers who want to blow him up, It's too much to expect them to hear any truths these quote-unquote kidnappers might want to share. Victims aren't expected to lead. They expect to be rescued. That would seem to be our problem as a nation right now. Wow. I am blown away by this. This is amazing stuff. Amazing stuff from Keith Abloh. And I got to tell you, that combined with, and I don't think Keith Abloh would object to me inserting this, although I don't know the man, combined with everything he wrote, add to that childhood of abandonment and being left with the grandparents and all that, add the influence that he did have as a young adult, the pot smoking, the drug use, Franklin Marshall Davis and Saul Alinsky and all that. And that's why you have a man who has a problem, calls the Constitution a flawed document, says we're not a fair nation, we're an unfair nation, that we were built on the backs of the poor and the minority and the downtrodden. If you make money, you're evil, unless you're a Hollywood friend of Obama's or a basketball player friend of Obama's or Obama himself. We are in big trouble in this country. Do you not see it? Keith Abloh sees it. I see it. I hope you see it. 855-777-9660. 855-777-9660. We're going to come back, and Colonel Alan West, former congressman from Florida, will join us right here on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Attention seniors and baby boomers. A new website has been created just for you. SocialSecurity311.com. At SocialSecurity311.com, we reveal a weird trick that could help you add $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. For example, did you know how you file for Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect? One simple step could add up to $1,000 to your monthly payouts. And other loopholes we found reveal 33 ways for big savings on your health care. At SocialSecurity311.com, you will also discover how you could save up to 50% on your groceries, along with 49 other ways to save as much as $50,000 starting today. Newsmax says this website is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. So go to SocialSecurity311.com now to find out how you could add extra money to your Social Security checks. That's SocialSecurity311.com. SocialSecurity311.com.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax Magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary, Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54. With a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny.
By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today. In this free offer, we are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th birthday commemorative edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax magazine every month.
Sure, Steve might be a bit of a hypochondriac, but he never gets sick of breaking news. This is the Steve Malzberg Show. Call Steve at 1-855-777-9660. That's 1-855-777-9660. Here's Steve.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. And joining us right now is our friend, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, former congressman from the great state of Florida. Hello, Colonel.
Steve, how are you doing?
Good. I'm doing fine. Good to talk to you again, as always. Appreciate it. And just before you came on, I read a piece that just was put up at the Fox.com, Fox News website by Dr. Keith Abloh. And I wish I could read you the whole thing, but basically it's called, Is Obama Locked in a Victim Mentality? And it starts off by saying President Obama's rhetoric is finally coming closer to what appears to be his psychological truth. Because America victimized him and countless millions of others, any person or party or movement that opposes his views and does not yield to him is not just his adversary, but abusive, predatory, and even threatening to him. And I mean, how else do you explain his actions and his stances and his name-calling and his rhetoric?
Well, I can put it in very basic Southern terms, a spoiled brat child, a pathological liar, and someone that pretty much so the United States of America participated in a Pavlovian experiment. We have been giving Barack Obama everything that he has wanted. We gave him a state senator position in Chicago. We gave him a U.S. Senate position out of the state of Illinois, unproven, untested, no resume. We gave him the presidency twice. So if you continue to reward bad behavior, you're going to get more of that bad behavior. And, Steve, you can go to any grocery store and you can see any parent that acquiesced to a screaming, ranting child in the cereal aisle. You're going to get that every time you go to that cereal aisle.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you add on to that, and you and I know this, Congressman. I mean, we've been through this a million times. And you add to all that a man who, whatever, the abandonment of his father, as Keith Abloh talks about, and everything else, a man who has been raised not by his parents but by his political, believers that surrounded him, that the Constitution is a flawed document, as he put it, which I think he believes even worse than that. The country was built on the backs of the poor and the minorities and those who were taken advantage of. I just don't believe that he views America the way you and I do. So I don't think he minds the hurt that he's putting on people unnecessarily right now.
No, I don't think so either. There is an animus that is there toward this country. And we must all remember that 5 days before the election in 2008, he said that we are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America. And shame on the media for not challenging him and asking him, what does that mean? Because America is a constitutional republic. What do you want to transform it into? America is a country and a land of opportunity. What do you want to transform it into? And I think we're finding that out right now, that he is moving this country away from respecting the Constitution, respecting the three branches of government and their, separation of powers and checks and balances, to more of an imperial presidency. And, you just have to look at what just happened with this death gratuity incident and just say, come on. this should have never gotten into the public domain. This should have been taken care of. I don't care what some, snazzy little lawyer said at the Department of Defense. It should have been taken care of.
Right, Congressman. Every Republican congressman I've heard or that I've talked to said that they believe that when they right before the closing of the government, when they passed that pay our military bill and keep it running, they thought that this was naturally included in there.
And actually, they had checked with the Department of Defense, and they were told that it was. I've kind of, done some, back scenes talking with some folks up there on the Hill myself, and they had every knowledge that everything was squared away and taken care of. But again, Steve, this should have never come out into the public light. This should have been something that, a simple phone call by Secretary Hagel to his comptroller to say, look, we have discretion with our funds, let's shift these funds, or calling over to the White House and say, Mr. President, you need to sign an executive order to fix this right now. And no one needs to know that this was ever
right. And now let me give you a better one. So the House immediately yesterday took it up and fixed it. The Senate today actually passed it. And Jay Carney today said there's no need for that legislation. The president thinks it's a gimmick, this piecemeal stuff. The Fisher House is taking care of it. So apparently the president's not going to sign it until there's an agreement reached. Could you believe this? So Fisher House will take care of it, and they'll be reimbursed. But to have a private entity still take care of this and going forward, when all the president has to do is sign what was passed by the House and the Senate, is a disgrace.
Well, it's beyond a disgrace. It's an outrage. It's reprehensible. It's disgusting. It's despicable. And consider this, Steve. We have gotten to the point where the greatest nation in the world, the greatest military in the world, will not even take care of the families of fallen warriors, that a private sector entity has to step in and do it. Now, what does that teach you about government? What does that teach you about the American citizen? We don't need to have this big onerous government if Americans can step up to the plate and fix that which government refuses to do. So really, for me, this is a triumph of the, indomitable American spirit and our benevolence toward, our fellow American man and woman, and especially the families of our fallen, that we don't need the government to do it. We'll figure it out. We'll find a way.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you there are many other ways that the American people can, take care of each other instead of having this society of dependency, which is what Barack Obama
Absolutely.
wants.
We're talking to Colonel Alan West, former congressman from the state of Florida, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Okay, we got about 3 minutes. Let me ask you, nothing's in writing yet, so we don't know the details, but Boehner and the Republicans said, okay, we'll raise the debt ceiling 6 weeks, government stays closed, president comes to the table, and we talk about budgetary issues, increasing the debt ceiling beyond 6 weeks and reopening the government, but we'll talk during that 6 weeks period. I don't know that the president's going to say yes to this, but what do you think of the offer?
I think that it is the offering of an olive branch. I believe that the first thing we have to do, if we're going to do some budgetary fixing, Obamacare has to be a law that applies to everyone in this country. It has to be, if it's to be the law of the land. There cannot be waivers. There cannot be exemptions. There cannot be delays. So we need to fix that. If in a republic, a law applies to all citizens. That's the first thing. I think the medical device tax needs to be repealed. There have been 7 other portions of the Affordable Care Act that the president has signed to repeal. The medical device tax is one. So I believe those are 2 very important things that the American people can understand has effects on our economy. But when it comes to the debt ceiling, I don't agree with the president who says raising the debt ceiling does not mean increasing your debt.
Isn't that insane? Isn't that just insane? It's like if you have a credit card limit of $10,000 and you owe $10,000, and then you increase that, the company increases the limit to 25, and then you run it up to 25. How does that not cost you anything?
No, it doesn't cost. According to the president, you only owe $10,000. So I think that we really have to look at the drivers of the debt. We have to look at entitlement reform. We've got to look at our tax policy reform. I believe we should move toward a flat tax. Every economy that's moved toward a flat tax, you've seen growth. That means on the personal income side and the corporate side, capital gains tax, dividends tax, and death tax. We need to start eliminating those things. But I'm most concerned about our monetary policy. Janet Yellen, who just got picked up or nominated to be the Federal Reserve Chairman, she's going to continue to print money, and I believe that we have an artificial economy. So those are the type of things that I would look for them to start, saying we got to fix these. You want to fundamentally transform something, let's fundamentally transform our economy back to being functional and not non-functional and dependent upon government printing.
Congressman, always great to talk to you, sir. Appreciate your time.
Thanks so much, Steve, and you take care.
You too. Colonel Alan West, ladies and gentlemen. Right here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Yeah, it is a disgrace. It is just such a disgrace that the president will not sign that bill passed by the House yesterday, the Senate today, to fund our military families, even though they'll be taken care of through a private organization. It's disgraceful. All right, when we come back, David Horowitz will join us. The great David Horowitz. Not only does he have a series of books coming out, which we'll touch on, but he has a program underway now that's going after certain liberal hosts on TV and radio. On the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Are you worried about not having enough money to retire? Finally, there's a retirement solution designed to address the damage that the government spending policies and the Federal Reserve have inflicted on the value of the dollar. Introducing the Heritage Advantage IRA, the new gold and silver-backed retirement account from Heritage Gold Group. Don't let the declining value of the dollar put your retirement in jeopardy. The Heritage Advantage IRA puts retirement savers back in control with physical gold and silver combined with the tax advantages of an IRA. Call 855-GOLD-IRA to request your free, no-obligation Heritage Advantage IRA kit. Inside, you'll find information about how to buy physical gold and silver with your existing IRA or 401k. No additional investment required. Call 855-GOLD-IRA for your free Advantage IRA kit. Don't wait. Plans for new regulations may eliminate rules allowing you to buy gold and silver with your existing IRA or 401k. Call 855-GOLD-IRA. That's 855-465-3472.
Attention seniors and baby boomers. A new website has been created just for you. SocialSecurity311.com. At SocialSecurity311.com, we reveal a weird trick that could help you add $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. For example, did you know how you file for Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect? One simple step could add up to $1,000 to your monthly payouts. And other loopholes we found reveal 33 ways for big savings on your health care. At SocialSecurity311.com, you will also discover how you could save up to 50% on your groceries, along with 49 other ways to save as much as $50,000 starting today. Newsmax says this website is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. So go to SocialSecurity311.com now to find out how you could add extra money to your Social Security checks. That's SocialSecurity311.com. SocialSecurity311.com.
150 million people suffer from headaches. All you want is for the pounding in your head to stop. Migralex stops the pounding. Migralex was developed by a neurologist and founder of the New York Headache Center.
I'm neurologist Dr. Alex Malzberg. After studying and researching the human brain for 25 years, I've developed Migralex, which eliminates pounding headaches. It works for my patients, and I'm so convinced it will work for you. I don't just guarantee it, I put my name on it.
Dr. Malzberg's Migralex gets rid of headaches fast without harsh caffeine, sodium, or preservatives.
Migralex works unbelievably fast, and it's gentle on my stomach.
Find out how to get your free bottle of Migralex. Call 800-532-2967. Plus, if you're one of the first 100 callers, you'll also receive the Migralex Quick Tips to Headache Relief absolutely free. That's 800-532-2967. Or go to migralexrelief.com. MIGRALEX relief.com. Or call 800-532-2967.
Here's today's silver shortage update from Lear Capital.
Reports keep coming, the shortage is growing. Twice already this year, the U.S. Mint has run out. Last time this happened, the silver price jumped 40%. It's time to take advantage with this special offer from Lear Capital.
For a limited time, buy 20 new silver polar bear coins and get one free. The only 1.5-ounce coin on the market. It's minted with the finest silver, carries a government guarantee, and is eligible for IRAs. The Silver Polar Bear is available exclusively from Lear Capital. But don't wait. Silver supplies are shrinking, and availability is not guaranteed. This offer is limited to a minimum purchase of $5,000. Call right now. 800-634-0482. 800-634-0482. Call Lear Capital now. 800-634-0482.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
I don't mean to believe.
Was absolutely the right position to take, and that was the position we took.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Of course, Al Sharpton on MSNBC actually being interviewed about his book and questioned on the Tawana Brawley hoax, which he helped perpetrate many, many years ago. And there he is, not apologizing, but sticking to his guns. And, of course, Al Sharpton has become the man who decides who shall live and who shall die as it relates to keeping a job or losing a job, staying on board or getting fired, depending on how offended Al Sharpton is over a remark made by usually a conservative. Joining us now, I'm very proud to say, is the president of the David Horowitz Freedom Center Foundation and the founder of frontpagemag.com, the great David Horowitz. Hey, David, how are you?
I'm good.
Well, good to talk to you. Okay, so tell us about what the David Horowitz Freedom Center is doing with Truth Revolt.
Well, I mean, you could see it on that clip you showed. Sharpton is lying through his teeth. This wasn't about getting a prosecutor to prosecute a case. There was no case. This was about leading a lynch mob against Steve Pagonis, who was a district attorney, and 5 other innocent people. Sharpton screaming over the airwaves that they were racist and what they had done to Tawana Brawley was terrible, and citing inflaming opinion. Sharpton hounded these people for 6 years, just destroyed their lives for 6 years. And Pagonis brought a libel suit against him, and Sharpton lost the suit. He's never paid. So he's what you might call a convicted liar here, but he's a lynch mob leader, and he's done it over and over and over again. And somehow he's an MSNBC host. You couldn't imagine David Duke, who has, unlike Sharpton, has no visible blood on his hands, and whom nobody actually listens to. You couldn't imagine him getting on to be a TV host on any channel, cable, network, or otherwise. There would be such an outcry. But Sharpton is tolerated, not tolerated, but encouraged, and has been, his whole career has been, it's not just rehabilitated. The guy is the advisor to the President of the United States on race relations, for crying out tears. So, I've said this in many of my writings, that conservatives do many things very well. But they're way too passive, and they're way too polite. The battle has to be taken to the enemy camp. In this case, the enemy within the media, which pretends to be reporting news and is actually spewing propaganda for the left and for this terrible president that we have, who's destroying the country, and who gets a free pass by this media. So we've decided to do something, and that is, I've decided to unleash Ben Shapiro in a site called Truth Revolt, which went up on Monday with a story called Sharpton's Crackers, not only because Sharpton is called White People Crackers, when actually it's the civil rights movement, so-called, that he leads, that has the cracker mentality. Guilty on the basis of race, guilty before the fact, punish them. That's what he did in the Trayvon Martin case. That's what he did in the Duke LaCrosse case. That's what he did with Paula Dean. I mean, you could go on and on. His whole life is that of a lynch mob leader. and a race hater.
Well, you go back, David, I hate to interrupt, but I do want to point out, because I lived through it here in New York, you go back to Crown Heights, you go back to Freddie's, which he led a protest on 125th Street in Harlem. Freddie was a white Jewish business owner, and he referred to Freddie as a white interloper. Subsequently, that place was burnt down and 7 people died, but of course he was never held responsible either legally or civilly at all.
Exactly. So Truth Revolt is an attempt to hold the oppressor's feet to the fire. The first article was called Sharpton's Crackers because the sponsor of his show is Ritz Crackers. We're going to go after Ritz Crackers. Already, of course, conservatives like to play by the Marquess of Queensberry rules. So there was an article in the Daily Caller criticizing us for calling for a boycott. Why not use our market power against a racist like Sharpton? We've had a tremendous response to Truth Revolt. 90,000 people visited the site on the first day. We have a petition that's to be sent to Ritz Crackers and MSNBC about removing Sharpton. The target was 1,000 signatures by January. There were like 5,000 the first day. There's been media coverage all over the media. We're hoping to inspire other conservative media to take up this cause. So I'm just thrilled with what Ben Shapiro has done with Truth Revolt. There's a Facebook page, there's Twitters. These are younger people than I am, so they're very comfortable with the social media, which is very important. The left is always in advance of us technology-wise.
Well, not when it comes to Obamacare.
No, actually, that was the first I realized when Obamacare was announced in 2009, I think in June or something. By August, there was a majority against it, and I said to myself, "How did they even find out about it?"
Right.
And it's the internet, no question about it. And of course, Newsmax has done terrific things with the internet, with your TV, the TV show that I'm on right now. We are catching up. But the biggest issue, though, is being aggressive. Taking the battle to them.
Well, David, why do you think conservatives, up until this point, and even now, as you mentioned in the article from the Daily Caller that you allude to, why do you think that conservatives haven't taken the tactics of the left to an extent? I'm not saying you're going to do everything the left does, and use it on for their own purposes.
Because they've been brought up too well. I mean, I often say that I think I was sent as a former radical to conservatives to teach them bad manners. Conservatives, they come out of business environments. They're brought up to protect their reputations, which are really important, not to get into a pissing contest with a skunk. They deplore the methods of the left, and by the left, I mean the Democrats. They are the left now. But politics, it's not a Tea Party. It's not bad.
No pun intended, I guess, right?
The Tea Party actually is beginning to turn the conservative movement. I love the Tea Party for that reason. But conservatives, if you're building a business, you don't want to make enemies. You want to build your customer base. So you don't want to get into controversies. And that mentality is very deep-seated in the conservative right, and they don't understand. They're in a street fight with gangsters and thugs. And you don't have to become the left. You don't have to become the left. That's what we have to do. And Truth Revolt, by the way, it's truthrevolt.org.
Okay, truthrevolt.org. I was going to ask you about that. We're talking to David Horowitz, the president of the David Horowitz Freedom Center, founder of Front Page Magazine, frontpagemag.com, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Before I do want to mention what's coming from you as far as your literary work. You're obviously also a fabulous New York Times best-selling author. But first, you are going to go after, from what I understand, others. I mean, it's not the end-all, be-all Al Sharpton. There's going to be you've already compiled, I think, a list of other potential targets.
and we've already gone after them. We went after Ed Schultz the second day. We've gone after Maher. We've gone after Alec Baldwin. Yes, this will be ongoing, and it will be to expose them, and it will be, of course, to ride the news cycle when they're distorting stories, but to go much deeper and behind the scenes and show who these people are, what their hypocrisies are, and what their covert agendas are. You have all kinds of political animals posing as news anchors. I mean, look at Stephanopoulos. He's on the hit squad for the Clintons. Why is he in the news business? How is it that ABC could hire him in the first place? I mean, I have nothing against political operatives. It's part of the democratic system. But if you're a political operative, you're not a journalist, and you shouldn't pretend you are.
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree with you more, David. I do want. Again, I'm sorry.
It started with Kennedy. Kennedy's whole political entourage were news reporters, because they're supposed to be reporters, they get access to it. They know where everything is, and they're good wordsmiths and so forth. But there's way too much confusion. The idea of separating powers and dividing them is a very good one that the founders thought up. They just didn't think to, protect TV audiences.
All right, yeah, you know what, David, we've ran a little long, so I want to come back and I want to talk to you briefly about what we could be looking forward to in a month from you. We're coming back with David Horowitz, a 2-segment interview right here. I don't think we've ever done that. Right here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Don't go away. Newsmax TV and radio.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Hi, this is Dick Morris. Obamacare is taking full effect this year with over 15,000 pages of regulations. You need to know how this law affects you. That's why you should get your copy of Obamacare's Survival Guide. It's easy to affect you. That's why you should get your copy of Obamacare's Survival Guide. It's easy to a medical professional, or really any citizen. You need the Obamacare Survival Guide. In it, you'll find about hidden taxes, fees, and fines, including a 40% tax on some health plans. I warned you about Obamacare. It's rationing, Medicare cuts, and will trigger doctor shortages. Now the Obamacare Survival Guide gives you the simple steps to protect your family.
Get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. It's already an Amazon bestseller. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 today. Go to Obamacare311.com. Obamacare311.com. That's Obamacare311.com.
Larry works on the construction site when he's not held up with constipation. Mary sits all day at a desk, which does little to relieve gas and bloating. You can't schedule abdominal discomfort, but you can help alleviate it with Bactipro. Developed by holistic medical doctor David Brownstein, Bactipro is the fiber probiotic supplement that comes in the form of an easy-to-eat, tasty wafer. It includes the most essential ingredients necessary to help support your healthy digestive and immune function. Experience the results. Learn how you can receive a 30-day supply of Bactipro. Just visit Bactipro.com/offer. All you cover is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Probiotics and Your Health. Do something about your digestive health now. Get your 30-day supply at Bactipro.com/offer. That's BACTIPRO.com/offer. Limited time only. Bactipro.com/offer.
If you're a man over 40, your prostate could be forcing you to urinate frequently, even disrupting your sleep multiple times each night. You're not alone. Over half of men over 40 experience age-related prostate concerns. Fortunately, prominent medical doctor David Brownstein believes that aging prostate concerns are not inevitable. That's why Dr. Brownstein developed Prostate Revive, an advanced dietary supplement containing a unique blend of 15 ingredients designed to promote optimal prostate health. So men, as part of this new radio promotion, you now have the opportunity to claim your own 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, containing saw palmetto, beta-cytosterol, and numerous other prostate helpers. Just cover a $4.95 shipping and handling charge. Plus, if you act now, you'll also get a doctor's guide to a healthy prostate as a bonus gift. Please visit prostaterevive.com/radio for details on getting your 30-day supply of Prostate Revive and free report. That's prostaterevive.com/radio. Do something about those annoying age-related prostate concerns. Visit prostaterevive.com/radio now while supplies last.
A hot new book by Craig Smith argues that the greenback is now at high risk. Thanks to our spendthrift politicians, Mark Twain said the truth is stranger than fiction. The same is true of the Great Debasement, which began a century ago with the creation of the Federal Reserve and income tax. The result, today's dollar retains just 2 cents of its original buying power. Yes, progressive politicians have engineered the largest wealth confiscation in history, creating in essence a fourth branch of government. Learn what must be done to preserve your money if the dollar crashes. The good news is Swiss America is offering the Great Debasement, a $20 value free of charge for this special radio offer.
800-818-3967. 800-818-3967. 800-818-3967. Call Swiss America now for a free DVD. 800-818-3967.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented, and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy.
Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare311.com. Obamacare311.com. That's Obamacare311.com.
Microphones hot. Satellite link established. Studio lights illuminated. Cameras rolling. Audio and video encoders firing ones and zeros. Internet stream is streaming. The most technology advanced radio show is on the air. Here's the captain of this enterprise, Steve Malzberg.
And welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. And still with us is the great David Horowitz, the president of the David Horowitz Freedom Center and the founder of Front Page Magazine, frontpagemag.com. And, of course, we have been talking about his organization's forming of Truth Revolt. And go to truthrevolt.org, truthrevolt.org, an attempt to boycott the sponsors, put pressure on the sponsors of people like Al Sharpton and Ed Schultz and David Gregory and Chris Matthews and others. But David, you and I am privileged to have in my hand Volume 1 and Volume 2 of the Black Book of the American Left, which I understand is going to be a 10-volume series by David Horowitz, and basically it's your life, your journey from left-wing, communist, progressive to where you are right now.
Well, yeah, that's Volume 1 actually. I've spent, when I came into the right, I saw that the right does many things very well. It does the economy well, it does the founding well, it does policy well, but it doesn't or hasn't until Obama really begun to understand the left, the force that's destroying this country. So I've spent my entire career as a conservative focused on the left. I've written over 1 million words, which are going to be contained in these volumes. And the second volume is called Progressives. It's about the nature of the progressive so-called mind and its tactics and its disloyalties to this country. The third volume is called The Great Betrayal, and it's about the way the Democratic Party betrayed the war in Iraq. If you want to understand what's going on in the Middle East, why there's such a disaster going on there, it's because the Democrats, after supporting the Iraq war, within 3 months, turned their backs on it, sabotaged the war, betrayed our country and our troops in the field, prevented us from dealing with all those, for example, chemical weapons that went into Syria, prevented us from dealing with Iran, which was supplying the IEDs that killed our troops, just crippled our war effort and created a vacuum into which Hezbollah, Iran, Assad and Russia have now entered. And Republicans never utter a word about this. So I feel these 10 volumes I've written, it is called The Black Book of the American Left, are intended to open the eyes further of conservatives so they begin taking the battle to the enemy camp.
Well, listen, we're going to have you back right before or right when these volumes come out. We'll do a half hour with you. I look forward to it. I'm holding up right now Volumes 1 and Volumes 2, which like I said, I'm privileged to have, The Black Book of the American Left by the great David Horowitz. David, good luck with the project, truthrevolt.org, and I can't wait to speak to you in a few weeks on the launching of the series.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. All right, David Horowitz, ladies and gentlemen. And he will be back. He will be back when these books come out. Okay, some interesting things. I want you to hear some sound bites. You know, we do such a great job of getting sound bites every day, and I don't get to play them all. And I save them for the next day, from the day before, thinking I'll get to them tomorrow. But I want you to hear Debbie Wasserman Schultz on MSNBC, of all places, with Thomas Roberts, where she thought she's just going to get, hey, softball question. But they wanted to know from her, hey, why won't the government tell us how many people signed up for Obamacare? And she really got flustered. Here's cut number 38.
How would you respond to the messaging and the criticism that there has been about the rollout of Obamacare, the access to the exchanges, the glitches in the system that do exist, and the fact that there isn't any hard data, even though the government's not running the actual insurance exchanges, it is running the rollout and should be able to provide every curious American about the data, and certainly journalists about the data, of how many people are actually signing up, accessing Obamacare. So where is that number?
So clearly, we're 8 days in, and to be insisting on data being produced day by day for a 6-month enrollment program that is a little bit unfair.
Yeah, it's unfair. It's unfair. Don't ask me this question. You shouldn't want to know. Who are you? I'm a congresswoman, baby. I'm the chair of the DNC. I could know this, but you asking me this unfair question? It's almost as unfair as saying, why can't people sign on? Which we'll get to in a second. Here's cut 39.
The analogy that I've used repeatedly is that the Republicans, because they don't like their kitchen redesign, are trying to burn their house down. and that's what they're doing by trying to take the government down with them and our economy. We need, and we've acknowledged all along, like we've done for more than 200 years, Thomas, if there are problems that arise through the implementation of the Affordable Care Act, which inevitably with a change this big there will be, we need to work together to fix those. But what the Republicans are trying to do, they don't really want to fix the problems. They don't even acknowledge or agree that everyone should have access in America to quality, affordable health care. That is the rub.
That is the rub. That's the problem. Forget the fact people can't sign up even if they want to, and you have no business asking me how many have signed up. The problem is the Republicans want to redesign their kitchen so they burn the house down. Remember that, John Roberts. I think it's John Roberts. Whatever. Just don't ever forget that. I'm Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I'll say whatever I want. Actually, let's go here to let's go to Jesse Jackson, because this is outrageous too. Jesse Jackson. Where was he speaking here? He was making this horrific analogy, the Tea Party and the GOP on Ed Schultz's show. Let's listen to 41. This is cut 41, ladies and gentlemen.
Your take on what we're facing right now in this country.
Looking at the re-rise of the Confederacy, the same group narrowly conceived, anti-labor, anti-racial justice, anti-gender equality, anti-the big American dream, to try to take us down in 1860 with the Fort Sumter Tea Party, its progenitor. And Lincoln had to fight a war to establish the Union from them and to end slavery. This is the resurrection of the Confederacy.
The resurrection of the Confederacy. All right, is Chris Matthews any better? Talking about the conservatives in the House? You decide. This will be cut 43. Cut 43.
Like the crazed hawks who talk us into wars all the time, telling us they won't last long, or there'll be a cakewalk, or I love this one. They'll pay for themselves. The Rand Paul types are now telling us, don't worry, walk over that cliff. We can fly. We can all fly. We're a country of wacko birds. You have to ask what's happened to this country. It's bad enough having to face the 40 senators who can regularly shut down a bill. We now have 30 members of the House who can stand out there and shut down the government. And, oh, yes, just for funsies, threaten to destroy this country's economic standing in the world. When is John Boehner going to lead his party and tell the little right-wingers out there to go fly a kite?
All right, this from a man who lies about, he calls up Republicans terrorists for shutting down the government. This is before the government was shut down. So he's confronted by Congressman Labrador on Meet the Press. Your boss, Tip O'Neill, shut it down 7 times. Oh, well, that was different. They only lasted a couple of days. But this was before the government shut down. He was already calling Republicans terrorists. So please, I just play Chris Matthews because you just need to see the hatred and the venom and the viciousness that's out there on the left. And that's what we do, partially here, in addition to great interviews, phone calls, and everything else. We'll do it tomorrow, God willing, on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.